This guy started beating her up, and I grabbed a knife out of the kitchen. I'm 6 years old, and he slapped me. He slapped the knife out of my hand and grabbed me by my neck and held me up against the wall. She left and left me with the neighbor. I was like, where's my mom? She looks at me and she goes, your mother's not coming back for you. She would beat me up and lock me into this makeshift room. One time she punched me in the mouth and knocked my head through the wall. I remember just walking through the forest by myself, just crying and just asking, where's my mom? And why does nobody love me? I'm running amok. I have 37 police contacts as a juvenile. I hate everybody. I can't get released from juvenile hall because I have no parents to get released to. I'm 205 pounds, 18 years old, just ripped with an attitude. I was out for blood. I was going to go find and hunt down and destroy everybody. They used to call me the Regulator. I regulated the drug world. I would rob these drug dealers. He turned around with a 9mm pointed right at my forehead. His eyes went black like a shark, and his face just went blank, and he pulled the trigger. Pow! My name is Tracy Kovach, and this is my testimony. I remember as a child, we lived in California in a little apartment. My mom, my dad, my brothers, and everything was normal, I thought. There was always a lady that came over. I was about 4 years old, I want to say. She had really long fingernails, and she was an old lady, scared me to death. And she would always come over, and my dad was at work, and my mom would let her in. She would come over, and the minute she would come in, she would make us go stand in the corner. So she always just scared me, or she would dig her nails underneath my arm and tell us to go outside and play. I found out later she was a witch and a devil worshiper and all kinds of stuff. I found out all kinds of stuff when I got older about what was going on in the house at that time. I remember just a bunch of things used to happen in that house. I remember I would have dreams, like I thought they were dreams. They seemed so real. I still to this day, I think they were real. One time, something woke me up. I don't know what it was. And I went into the living room and I was crying, and my mom was laying on the couch, and she told me to go get my blanket. And I can come lay on the couch with her. So I went and got my blanket, and it was stuck on the springs back in those days. And the beds had springs, and I'd be pulling on the string, and the blanket was stuck on it. I couldn't get it off. And there was a shadow in the curtain of like a head and shoulders that was getting bigger. And I'm looking at the shadow, pulling, and finally it ripped. And I went running out into the living room and told my mom, what happened. And she said, no, you were just dreaming. So another time I remember my dad, I snore like a truck. If it wasn't for a sleep study, I would probably be divorced right now. But, but I remember one time my dad snored. I snore like my dad used to snore. And one time he snored, and we had our bedrooms were at the end of this hallway, one on each side. And the bathroom was right in the middle at the end of the hallway. And the bathroom light used to shine onto our bedroom door from the bathroom, and they would leave the bathroom light on. And I remember one night something woke me up again, and I don't remember what it was. And I woke up and I seen the profile shadow of my dad walking on the door. And I called his name like 3 or 4 times. I remember going, Dad, Dad, Dad. And then I heard him snoring loud as day in the bedroom. And I was like, whoa. And I just covered my head with a blanket and went back to sleep. And I went and told my mom, and she was like, oh, you were just dreaming. So this was going on for a long time. And I remember in 1971, I think it was, the earthquake hit California. We left California and we went to a little town called Frisco, Colorado, up by Dillon. It was just a little one-horse town, dirt roads, and one police officer in the whole town. And it was not a very big population. And the town people I always hear them talking about, there was a mountain called Mount Royal. It looked like the Prudential Rock. And I guess there was an old Frisco that was right at the bottom of the mountain. And an avalanche wiped out the whole town and killed everybody in the town. And that was just like this story that went around town all the time. So it was the new Frisco. I was so scared of this house we were in. The way it was set up was you would walk in the front door, and it was a living room and then the kitchen to the right. And then there was a hallway that went into a bedroom that went into a bathroom that went to the back bedroom. So that's how you got to the back bedroom, was through this maze. Well, our bedroom, of course, was all the way in the back. So, and I was so scared of this house. The water in the bathroom used to come on by itself. And I remember my mom used to yell at us and tell us to go shut the water off. And I would shut the water off. I would creep in there just scared, and I would shut the water because I'm thinking, how did this water? No, but we were all in the living room. I don't know how the water even came on. And I would turn the water off, and before I even left the bathroom, it would be back on. And I would scream and run into the. All my hairs are standing up right now because I would scream and run into the living room. My mom would yell at me and hit me with stuff and tell me, "Go turn that water off." And I'm like, did turn the water off. I'm all, I turned the water off. It just so I was so scared of this house. I would creep through the house even during the daytime, and I would get all the way to the back bedroom, and I'd put my hand around the corner to turn the light on because I didn't want to walk in. And I would turn the light on. And one time I did that with my brothers. We're all creep through the house like that because it was just a scary place. And I remember we walked through. We're all like single file. There's 3 of us, and we're walking. And I put my hand around the corner. I turned the light on, and as I was turning the light on, we were all walking into the bedroom, and the bulb burned out, and it would flash, and we all screamed and ran out of the house. So, yeah, there was just all kinds of just very intense stuff going on there. One day, my dad, he didn't come home from work one time, and I don't know. I'm just a kid. I'm out playing. I'm 5 years old. I hadn't turned 6 yet, and one day my dad shows up with some lady, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I went and got a rose, and I gave it to her. My mom slapped me and took the rose away from me. And I was like, I don't know. I was just giving this lady a rose, right? Well, it turns out my dad was leaving my mom for this lady. And still to this day, I'm thinking, well, why would you even bring her to the house? I mean, and into the house and introduce, it's just questions I never got answered. So then my dad and mom divorced. When my dad left, my oldest brother went with my dad, and me and my other brother, he's a year older than me, stayed with my mom. And then she just had our youngest brother too. So I remember one time me and my older brother were out, and there was one gas station in the whole town, and we're trying to steal a car from the back of this. Now, mind you, I'm 6 and he's 7, and we wanted to get our mom a car. She didn't have a car, and there's like this car sitting there with, we're just little kids. I mean, where do kids even come up with this stuff, right? So, but it was in the snow, so we couldn't get the car out of the snow. So we're throwing all this stuff under the tires and trying to get it to go. We must have been doing that for like an hour, and finally the guy from the gas station come running out, the owner, and he yells at us, "What are you doing?" And we took off running, and he went, and of course this is a little 1-horse town, and he went and told our mom, and then told the one cop in the whole town, and the cop, to try to scare us, took our fingerprints and took us down to the police station and just trying to scare us. So and then there was one store in the whole town, and we used to go there and fill our pants full of candy, and we'd go out of there crinkling. And the guy would just look at us. One time we went in there, and we filled our pants with candy, and he yelled at us. He goes, "I know you guys are stealing candy." And he goes, "Come here." And we took off running and ran to our mom's house. And then he went and told her. And then, of course, the cop got involved. And so this was going on. And we were just out of control. One time I'm walking in the woods, and I come across this horse, big old horse. I was in a field, had a rope on it, but all the grass was dead. And I thought, hey, my mom could use a horse. And I actually, part of the fence was down, and I actually grabbed the rope, and I started pulling on this horse. And it was a really long rope. I started pulling on this horse, and it started following me. It came out of the field. So now I'm going down a dirt road with this big old horse, and there's like patches of grass at every block. And this horse is trying to eat, and I'm pulling on this horse, and he would look up at me and charge after me. And I would run to the next patch of grass and stop, and he'd be eating that grass. And I'm doing this all the way down the street. And then here comes that cop with my mom in the car. And my mom is furious, and the cop's like, "Where did you get this horse?" And I came up with this whole elaborate story. There was a barn, and there was dead people on top of the barn, and I saved the horse. It was stuck in the barbed wire, and I saved the horse. And and the cop's like, what I wasn't expecting was for him to go, "Okay, let's go back to the barn then." And there was a barn, but there was no dead people, right? So we go there, and he knows already that I'm just being a liar. So he had me in front of him. We're going up the stairs, this ladder in the barn, and there's a hay loft up, and we're going up the ladder, and he is behind me, and he's kind of pushing me up, and he's got his gun out, and he's going to get up there, and as soon as we get to the top, he puts his gun down like he's looking for whoever, and there's nobody there, and I screamed, I go, "They're gone!" And I ran down this ladder and took off running out of the barn. Anyways, he took me down to the police station and fingerprinted me again for that. So I was a little out of control kid from the beginning. And then my mom turned into an alcoholic really bad. And she started bringing home these drunk dudes from the bar. She was in the bar every night. Back then, people left their kids alone all the time. 1971, and nobody cared. We just played in the forest and whatever. We pretty much raised ourselves in in the wilderness. So she would come home, and these guys. I remember one time she brought home this drunk dude, big old. I mean, I'm just a little kid, but this guy was just a monster, and they're all drunk. And my mom would get in arguments with these guys, and I used to like thinking to myself, like, please shut up, because these guys would beat her up all the time. And she was only like 4'9". She was just a little lady. But she just, what used to always get me is she just wouldn't shut up. And I used to always think, well, just shut up. Stop talking, because every time you talk, they beat you. And I remember one time she brought this guy home that started beating her up, and I grabbed a knife out of the kitchen. And again, I'm 6 years old. I grabbed a knife out of the kitchen, and he slapped me and slapped the knife out of my hand and grabbed me by my neck and held me up against the wall. And when he let me down, I ran to the neighbors and called the police. And then the police showed up, and I don't know what happened after that. But so this kind of stuff was going on all the time. Plus, I could not focus in school at all. So when I would go to school, there was just, I just couldn't focus. I was like always picked on in school. So they put me on Ritalin and said that was the cure all for everything back then. So I just felt alone, and I just felt like isolated. I didn't have no friends at school. Everybody used to always pick on me and make fun of me and all this. So it was just interesting. So meanwhile, there's all this stuff's going on at home, and I'm trying to just ignore everything, go outside and play. Then one day my mom comes home and she tells me that she is going to go get married to one of these drunks, and she was going to go to Texas to get married. And I knew this guy was a devil worshiper. So he had satanic Bibles and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was just like, that's just weird. You know what I mean? Whatever this guy's doing. She came home, and there was a lady, a mother, and 4 daughters that lived right next to us in this apartment. And my mom came home, and she asked me, she said, do you want to come with me so I can go get married, or do you want to stay with the neighbor? And I'm like, well, I don't like this guy, first of all. Every time you guys are around each other, he beats you up. So I'm thinking, okay, no, I'll just stay with the neighbor. It was a mother and 4 daughters. There was like a 4-year-old daughter all the way up to 21, a 4-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 21-year-old. So she left and left me with the neighbor. And this lady was, at first she was nice. And then my mom didn't come back. It was about a week went by, and then 2 weeks went by. And I was like, where's my mom? And she's like, well, we don't know. So I'm like, oh, have you talked to her? And she'll tell me I haven't talked to her. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'm just go out and play in the woods. And then again, another week went by, and I asked her, I said, hey, where's my mom? She goes, and she looks at me and she goes, your mother's not coming back for you. And I was like, what does that mean exactly? You know what I mean? Okay, so now what? And so that lady went and got a foster's license. And then she became really abusive. She would like beat me up, and she turned a storeroom. She put a mattress in a storeroom, and that's where I would stay. She would beat me up and lock me in this makeshift room. She would punch me in the mouth and one time she punched me in the mouth and knocked my head through the wall. The 16-year-old daughter, the 19 and the 21-year-old, they were just as mean as her, and they hated me for some reason. I don't know why. The 16-year-old though, she tried to protect me because her mom would come with everything she could think of to beat me with, and the 16-year-old would come in and go, put this in your pants, mom's coming to beat you up. And I put these books in my pants, and she goes, just act like you're just scream when she's hitting you, like it's destroying you. So I'd be screaming, but most times she's not even hitting my butt. So this went on for a couple of years, and I remember just walking through the forest just by myself, just crying and just asking, like, God, why? It wasn't God I was talking to. I was just talking. Now I know I was talking to God, but I didn't, at the time, I was just talking, and I was just saying, why, where's my mom? And why does nobody love me? I was just so confused about everything, to where I would even like get lost in the woods and not even care. I'd be like, I don't care. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and nobody even cares anyways. Nobody would probably even come looking for me. So all these thoughts are going through my head. And I remember one time I'm talking to myself, and I'm sitting there thinking, all these kids are teasing me at school, but I see these cool kids. Everybody's hanging around them. They got all the girls, and I'm like, I want to be that guy. So this went on for some time, and I was just so confused and so lost and so broken. And this lady's beating me up. The daughters are doing this Ouija board thing, and I'm like their guinea pig of whatever it is they're doing. I don't know. They're like doing this thing where I would lay down, and they would have all their girlfriends over, like for a sleepover, and I would be laying in the middle, and they would use their fingers to lift me, using the Ouija board or whatever. There was just, And I thought it was just a game. I know now there was more than just a game, but I was just happy that people were paying attention to me. I'm like, hey, they think I'm cool, so whatever. But this went on for a while, and then my dad found out that my mom left me. He was living in San Francisco, and he found out that she left me there and never came back. So he had got a hold of the welfare. The welfare actually got a hold of the lady that I was staying with. What happened was the guy in the gas station, the only gas station in town, he knew my mom and dad before, and he knew what was going on with me in this house, and he has called my dad. The welfare actually told my dad that they'll send me to him for 2 weeks to San Francisco. They flew me out to San Francisco. When I get out there, my dad says, "You're never going back." The whole idea wasn't to get you back there and see you for 2 weeks. The idea was to get you back home, and now you're not going back. Now we need to leave San Francisco, because now the welfare is going to be looking for him and wonder why he didn't take me back. So at the time, again, I'm young. I don't know. None of this stuff even means anything to me. But my dad was just so abusive. My stepmother was like just terrible. Used to beat me with this big old stick. My dad would beat me with this stick. My dad would make me rub lotion on his feet for hours and hours and hours, and then make me stand in the corner, and my stepmom would beat me up and lock me in the room, and it was just crazy. And at the whole time, I'm just sitting there thinking, what the heck is going on? Why does nobody love me? I'm just so confused. Meanwhile, we're doing all the paper routes. My dad has got us doing paper routes at 2:00 in the morning, and multiple paper routes so he could get all the money for it. So I mean, I'm talking the thick papers, and we had multiple paper routes, and I'm on a 10-speed bicycle with a rack on the back full of papers and a paper bag at 2:00 in the morning every morning. And then I have to go to school wearing plaid dress pants that are like this much too short that my stepmom got from Goodwill. And I mean, then I'm picked on, and just constantly, just this stuff just constantly went on. And I was just finally got to a place where I just shut down. I didn't want to talk to nobody. Nobody loved me. Nobody cared about me. And so I just didn't know what to do or say. So I just didn't say anything. So there was years that I didn't talk to anybody at all. I would just sit around and I would watch everyone and everything. And I would think, what could be different if whatever just happened there was different? What if I did that? Okay. And I would analyze this stuff, which trips me out to this day, because I was young and I'm watching things to see how it could have been different if just one action in whatever this scenario was different, and that could have been better. And you know what I mean? So it was just weird, and I enjoyed it, like watching stuff and just seeing how that stuff worked. So this went on for a while, and then we left San Francisco. We went to, I believe, Washington State, to Seattle, Federal Way, actually. We had 8 paper routes in Federal Way between me and my older brother, 8 paper routes. So it would take us hours and hours from 2 in the morning. We never seen any of that money. My dad would buy cars with that money and all kinds of stuff. And then all kinds of crazy stuff's going on while we're delivering papers. Meanwhile, my stepmom's beating us up. My dad, when I would make my dad mad, he would make my brother punch me in my face. It's just all this stuff's going on, and he would beat us with this big stick, almost knocked me out a couple times. And I don't know. I'm so young. I don't know what's supposed to be normal. I don't know if this is normal or if this is just life. So one day I'm on the back of the station wagon. My dad had a station wagon, and I was delivering papers, and we were driving through a Sears parking lot, a mall parking lot. And as we're driving through the parking lot, I'm dangling my feet off the back, and all the papers are in the back, and I'm throwing papers towards the mall doors. And as we're driving through the mall parking lot, I hear a tire screech, just like real quick. I heard, and when I looked, there was a car right there, and it just slammed right into the back of the station wagon, right where I was at. Some lady just lost control of her car and just slammed right into us. All I remember is flying through the air and flipping. And when I came down right on my head. And it knocked me out for a second, and then I got up, and my dad is arguing with this lady. I'm way on the other side of the parking lot, and my dad has spun the car all the way around the station wagon, and I'm laying in the middle of the parking lot, and my dad is arguing with this lady, and I'm crawling. I can't stand up, and I'm crawling towards my dad. So I'm crawling towards my dad, and he's arguing with this lady, and I try to get to him and I can't stand up, and I get to him to try to crawl up his leg so I can stand up, and he slaps me off of him and tells me to get in the car. So at that moment, was when I realized that there's no love in this house whatsoever. I thought it was my dad, and I thought he loved me, and I thought maybe it's just, it's just, I didn't know. But at that point, I knew that wasn't true. He didn't love me. So then I just shut down even more, and just went through all the motions with all this stuff going on. Tried to keep my mouth shut because I was afraid I would get beat up and whatever. You know what I mean? So then we moved to my older brother. My mom shows up one day. She's living in Las Vegas with the guy she married. She shows back up with my older brother. Now my older brother starts staying with us. My mom leaves with this devil worshiper guy, and goes back to Vegas. Well, my older brother, he's a year older than me. Now he's smoking pot, and he's like this really cool dude, and he's hanging out at these people that are drinking and partying at the end of this, our apartment complex. And I'm like, that is so cool. I want to do that. And my dad and him would get in arguments all the time about what he's doing. And he's had this whole life that he's living that's outside of my dad. And he's like rebelling and just doing what he wants to do. So I want to be that guy. I'm like, man, I wish I could do what he's doing. So anyways, we moved from Washington. We were there for a couple of years, and then we moved to Grand Junction, Colorado. So now my older brother, he's smoking pot. He's a mechanic. That's all he was doing was in Las Vegas. So he starts working at a junkyard. I'm delivering newspapers. My brother's working in a junkyard. Still all this abuse going on in the household. So he would go to work, and one day he comes to me, and we're in Grand Junction, Colorado. In the wintertime, it's up in the Rockies, right? It's cold. So he comes to me one day, and he says, hey, I've gotten a hold of Mom again. She's in Barstow, California. And I got this motorcycle that my boss gave me at the junkyard that I'm going to work on and get it running. And I'm going to leave. We're going to run away. Are you coming with me? And I'm like, absolutely. Don't leave me here. If you're leaving, do not leave me here. So at this point, it was me, my older brother, my oldest brother, who left with my dad originally, and then our step brother, which was younger than me. One day, this went on for, few months or whatever, a year or whatever went by. The motorcycle was parked at the house. Every time my dad and stepmom would leave, my brother would go out there and work on this motorcycle. And then one morning, about 2 a.m, he wakes me up and he goes, shh. He's got ski mask and he's got gloves. And he's like, you ready? We're going. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we sneak out of the house. It's middle of the winter time. We get on this motorcycle. It's a 360 Yamaha Enduro. I'll never forget this bike. But we get on this bike, and it's so cold, and I don't even care because we're leaving, and I'm just feeling like we're escaping. So we get to this gas station, fill up, and he tells me we're going through a different way because there's going to be police this way and all this. I don't even know. I'm just like, let's just go. So we end up going on to the Grand Mesa, and we're going out towards, I think, Utah or something. We're going to go through Utah for some reason. But so we're all going over the Grand Mesa in Colorado, and I remember it's so dark out there, and we're on this road. The Grand Mesa is like this windy road that just goes up alongside of this mountain, and there's a cliff on one side, and we're just going, and all of a sudden the motorcycle breaks down and it seized up, and the light went out, everything went out, and we're just sliding. And we're going downhill now, and we're just sliding it. And all I can remember thinking is, please hit the mountain, because I know that was a cliff over there. So I'm just thinking, I'm just holding on. And there's nothing. I can't even see my brother in front of my face. It was so dark. And we slide, and then we just stop. And we just look at each other, and it's just dead quiet and pitch dark. And I'm like, he goes, the motorcycle's done. And I'm like thinking, that's not good. We've been riding for hours, right? So all of a sudden we see way off in the distance, 2 headlights come around the corner and then disappear and then come back around. So there's a vehicle coming on the road, coming towards us. And so finally this vehicle gets to us. It's a van, like a cargo van. Some long-haired dude with a beard, and he's like, what are you guys doing? And we tell him, my brother tells him that we ran away and now we're lost, and the motorcycle broke down. He goes, that's awesome. It has my brother a joint, and he starts smoking a joint. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. I don't even know what it is. And he puts the motorcycle in the back of the van, and he takes us to Mesa, Colorado, which is the way we were going, but at the bottom of the hill. So we get there, and he takes us to a motorcycle shop. The motorcycle shop, now the sun comes up. We had to wait till it opened. When they opened, the guy looks at the bike and says, the piston turned sideways in the head. It's done. So my brother gets a hold of my mom in Barstow, California, and has the welfare send us to her on a Greyhound bus. So now the welfare buys us bus tickets. We go to the bus station, and then they send us to her. So, but while I'm in the parking lot of this gas station and my brother is working with the mechanic to get all this, whatever he's doing, I found a shotgun shell, a live round. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I'm slapping it on the ground. I'm trying to hit it on the ground to make it go off. And because I thought it'd make a cool bang, right? Um, See, this is how I know God was with me from the beginning. I'm slapping this shotgun shell on the ground over and over and over, and the back of the shell was just mangled, all except for the primer in the middle wasn't even touched. And I remember I kept turning it to where I was hitting it right on the back of it, and it was just destroying the whole back, but the primer was never touched. And the guy from the gas station, he comes out and sees me doing this and just slaps me and takes it away from me. He goes, "Do you know what this is?" He goes, "This will kill you. Are you dumb?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Apparently I am. I don't know. It's not a firecracker, it just go off like a firecracker." Well, I know now. I mean, if that thing would have went off, it probably would have blown my face off, and probably would have killed me. So we get to Barstow, and when we get to Barstow, here's my mom running from some alcoholic dude, big old Indian dude. He was like 6'9". He was a Golden Gloves boxer way back in the '60s. He's just a drunk. I mean, just absolutely drunk. She's just a little lady. He's 6'9", and she's running from him. He would show up and beat her up. Then they would make up, and then he would beat her up again. And it's just, and my mom one day, I leave because I don't want to even see this. So now I'm 13 years old, and I'm like, I don't want I'm out. So I leave the house, and she yelled at me one day, and she goes, "You get back in this house." And I told her to F off. First time I ever even used that language out loud. I told her to F off. You don't tell me nothing. And she just like looked at me, and I realized the power of that. She was like, she didn't know what to think. And I was like, oh, that was cool. All right, I'm just going to go with that then. So then we're running from this guy again. He's going to show up and beat her up. She runs in the house one day and says, he's coming to beat her up. We grabbed everything we could and jumped in the car and took off. So we ended up in San Diego. Again, she gets hold of the welfare. We're living on the beach at San Diego, right in the car. She gets a hold of the welfare. And I love that, really. I mean, I'm just a kid. It's like I'm on the beach every day. I'm in the water body surfing every day. So, I mean, nothing meant nothing to me. I'm just a kid, right? I'm 13 years old. So then my mom got a hold of the welfare, and they sent us to Orange County, California from there. So now I'm not listening to anything my mom says. As far as I'm concerned, she doesn't love me. I don't even know who this lady is. And the last thing I'm doing is listening to this lady. I felt free now. I'm like, I'm free. I have gotten away from the abuse, and nobody's going to abuse me again ever, especially this lady, whoever this lady thinks she is. So we would get in these arguments every day, and I would just leave and go about my business. But so I'm never at home. I'm trying to stay away from the house. The welfare sends us to this motel in Orange County, California. And it's just just the whole place is just bikers, just drinking and smoking pot and fighting each other and stabbing each other, kicking in walls, and just all this crazy stuff. And I'm watching all this stuff go on, and I'm just like, I'm just a kid, and I'm just like watching all this. It's going, wow, these people are crazy. This is kind of cool. You know what I mean? And my mom ends up hooking up with this biker dude. And then that's when I get into drugs, because this biker dude, he's like looking at me, and remember I told you I didn't talk to anybody. I wasn't talking to nobody. So this biker dude's coming in. He introduced me to Jethro Tull and Journey, and he hands me a joint one day, and he called it skunk weed back in the day. And he's like, "Here, just smoke this." I remember my mom yelling, "Don't give him that," and screaming. And he's like, "No, he needs this. This kid needs to learn how to be a kid," and all this, right? So I smoked it, dude. I was so high. I'm laying on the bed, and the bed is spinning, and he's got Journey blasted on his stereo, and I'm just going, wow, this is cool. So at that point, then this dude he would pick on me all the time, and he'd go, "Why don't you punch me back? Why don't you punch me back?" And he kept on just pushing me and pushing me. And one day I punched him back, and I actually punched him back and hurt him. And I thought, what the heck? That thing's got some, okay, all right, I got some power right there. Okay. So then they break up. My mom ends up leaving and hooking up with some other guy that just got out of prison. I'm nowhere even around the house. Now I'm hanging out at this other motel. She went to another motel. I'm hanging out at this other motel with all these bikers that are there and just running amok. I start dealing weed. My hair grows all the way down to my waist. I'm riding my little bicycle around, and I'm my 10-speed, and I'm delivering weed to everybody everywhere. We're just robbing stuff and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm having a blast. Then one day, this lady, one of these biker ladies, she asked me, I start taking crosstop whites back in the day. So I don't know if you know, back in the day, you used to be able, there was magazines. You could buy black beauties and crosstops out of a magazine, right in the back of a magazine. Crazy. So all these people had these black beauties and crosstop whites, and I start taking those. And then one day I run into this biker lady, and she's putting out lines of crystal meth. And She goes, "Do you want one?" I'm like, "I don't know. What is it?" She goes, "Well, same thing as the whites and the Black Beauty that you've been taking, but a little bit more powerful." I'm like, "Okay, what do I do?" She goes, "You snort it." And she hands me a straw, and I snort this line, and I'm just going. I can't stop talking. I'm like talking to everyone. People are trying to get away from me because I'm just talking and talking and talking. I'm just going on and on and on. And one day, like this is going on for a couple of days, as far as I think, right? Uh, and I'm sitting on the stairs about 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's the Fullerton Airport is right across the street from this motel, and there's a wall. There's a brick wall, and there's a bunch of dirt at the bottom of the brick wall. And I'm watching planes take off, and little Cessnas and stuff like that. And I'm watching them take off, and two people jump over the fence from the airport side. They jump over the fence into the dirt, and then they jump back over. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm going, that was weird. And then they do it again, and I'm watching. I'm going, that's weird. And then that biker guy walks up, that when he introduced me to drugs, that used to date my mom. He walks up and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Hey," I go, "Hang on, watch." I go, "Look it." I go, "Right there." "What are they doing?" He goes, "What is who doing?" I go, "Dude, don't play with me. Those guys." He goes, "There's nobody over there, dude." I'm like, he goes, "How long you been up?" I go, "I don't know, a couple of days. Since that lady gave me that line." He goes, "That lady gave you that line 15 days ago." I'm like, he goes, "You've been up since then?" I'm like, "I guess." He goes, "Dude," he gives me a Quaalude and tells me to go to sleep. So I take a Quaalude. So yeah, I take a Quaalude and I go to sleep. Uh, at this time, I'm like 14, 15 maybe. So, and I'm just running amok. I robbed a Circle K for money bags underneath the cash register, and doing beer runs, and robbed an architect store. And got, I mean, and I'm selling all this stuff to all these bikers that are just running amok. These bikers had ran the managers right out of the motel, taken over the motel. I'm watching these guys stab each other. I'm talking with stabbing each other and bleeding everywhere, and then sewing it up themselves and knocking each other through through walls. I'm like, these guys are just nuts. And I wanted to be this guy, you know what I mean? And then all these girls are hanging around with these guys. And I'm thinking, well, they must think that's cool. So I wanted to be this cool guy, just like all the rest of them. So I just get completely just immersed in all of that. So this goes on for a long time. I'm running amok. I have 37 police contacts as a juvenile. So my mom is off wherever she is with some convict guy that I cussed out one day. And I don't know who this guy was, but apparently he had he was somebody, but I didn't care. I mean, to me, he was nobody. He calls me this disrespectful little kid and kicks me out of the house. Found my mom at this motel, and she told me I'm staying there, and I told her to F off. He told me to watch my mouth. I told him to F off, and then he kicked me back out of the house. I wasn't there to be in the house anyways. I couldn't stand my mom and didn't think she loved me, and all this stuff was going on, right? So one day I'm dating this 21-year-old girl. She had a friend of hers that was 21 years old, a guy that was dating a 16-year-old girl that I knew. So kind of a weird, yeah. Back in those days, people weren't going to jail for that. Nowadays, you're going immediately to prison. so, so she's got an Impala, and this lady, I'm like this cool guy. Boy, I got this 21-year-old girl that's a drug dealer, and I think I'm the coolest thing in the world. And so one day, we're doing all the stuff that we're doing, and we get in trouble. I end up going to jail or juvenile hall. I go to juvenile hall. I get out. She's nowhere around anymore. I find my partner again, and then I run into her again, that girl again, and then we hook back up. And my partner, he's 21. He tells me, "Hey, I have a stolen 4x4. Now I have warrants again because I was supposed to go back to court, but I didn't. He's got warrants. The lady's got warrants. The 21-year-old that I'm dating." The 16-year-old girl, I know nothing about her at all. She's just been hanging around with him. And so he says one day, we all got warrants, and we're living in the car. And he says one day, "Well, I got a stolen Toyota 4x4. Why don't we go to Florida?" Okay. I mean, to a 16-year-old spun out kid, that sounds like the best idea ever, right? We have a stolen truck. He has a stash somewhere, he tells me, but we need gas money. Okay, where are we going to get gas money? Well, the 16-year-old girl goes, "Well, my parents work every day. So tomorrow when my parents aren't home, let's go to my house and we'll just get some stuff, some of my dad and mom's stuff, and we'll sell it in a pawn shop, get gas money, and go to Florida." Okay, great idea. I mean, like I said, a 16-year-old kid, this is all really sounds like a great idea to me. So next day we go to the house, and here was the plan. So we had a whole plan. So she said there's a washer and dryer in the garage. So the plan was we were going to go to the house. We were going to back the car up into the driveway in front of the garage. The two girls were going to do laundry, do all of our laundry in the laundry room in the garage. Now, mind you, it's her house, right? It's her parents' house. So this is the whole plan. Meanwhile, me and my partner, we're going to go into the house and steal everything we can, and then we're going to be done with it. So now she doesn't have a key. She says she lost her key, so we have to break in the bathroom window in the back. So we go into the backyard, me and my partner, we jump the fence, a chain link fence. We go into the backyard, we break in the back window and go through the bathroom window. So first thing I do, the girl is standing outside with us, but she's not coming in. She's waiting for us to open the garage so they can do laundry in the garage. I'm wearing a pair of shorts and flip-flops. That's it. No shirt, nothing. Because all my clothes, they're going to wash all of our clothes, right? So I go, hey, where's the guns? She goes, they're in the closet. And man, I don't know why that was my first thought. I'm like, where's the guns? I don't even know anything about guns, right? So I open the closet and it's full of guns. I'm talking 308 semi-automatics with scopes and just guns everywhere, pistols everywhere, guns, just guns everywhere. I'm grabbing handfuls of guns and I'm putting them onto this pool table by the back sliding glass door so that we can eventually get whatever. We're going to put everything that we're going to steal on this pool table, and then we're going to open the garage, the door, and go into the garage and just unload all the stuff, and then we're going to take off. So we're in the house. I get all these guns onto the pool table. We're grabbing TVs and VCRs, and I'm like, I mean, now I think, well, what the heck are we going to do with all this stuff, anyways? I mean, we got this big old TV. We're in an Impala, right? It's like a 64 Impala. So I'm grabbing all this stuff, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. Police, open up. I'm like, oh, snap. Me and my partner look at each other, and all of a sudden I hear someone coming over the chain link fence on the side of the house. My first thought was, I'm out. I took off running for the bathroom window that we came in, and I dove head first out the bathroom window, hit the ground, rolled, jumped over the fence, and took off running down the street. And I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running, I'm running, I'm running. I'm looking back, I'm running, and I'm thinking, well, there ain't nobody even chasing me. I'm like, so I keep running. I hide behind this garage, and I'm like looking. I sit there for a few minutes, and I'm like, there's nobody chasing me. I'm like, huh. Okay, so I sit there for a little longer, still nobody, and I'm like, what? I wonder what's going on. So still nobody ever chases me. So I go around the block and I come back down and I stand at the end of the block and I can see that there's cops everywhere. So, and they got the whole street blocked off and there's cops everywhere and they got all of them handcuffed in the cars. I'm looking and nobody's even paying attention to me. And I'm like, they don't even know I was there. I'm like, what the heck? Okay, this is cool. So then I get real bold and I decide I'm just going to walk right past the house. So I just walk right past the house. And mind you, I'm in a pair of shorts, no shirt, and flip-flops. So I walk by the house a couple times. They're in the cars cuffed, and they're looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, don't look at me, right? I'm like, so I keep walking. I do that like 4 or 5 times. I walk by the house and realize that these guys never even knew I was even in the house. So I'm like, man, all right. So I'm thinking, darn it, all my clothes are in. I have nothing. All my stuff was in the car. So I go down to the end of the block and I'm watching. I'm like at the end of the block, right? So, I can see the house, but I'm not like right there. So I'm watching all these cops going in and out and all this, cops everywhere. And all of a sudden 2 detectives walk out of the front door and they stand on the porch and they like look around and then they look at me and they point at me and look at each other. And I was like, oh, I take off running. Pew! So they chase me, motorcycle cops. They chase me down. I run and run and run. They catch me. They cuff me, take me back to the house. So now they put me in the back of this police car. There's an officer in the car, and this detective keeps looking up. One of the detectives that was chasing me, he keeps coming to the window and just looking at me, just mad dogging me. And I'm thinking, I asked the cop in the car, I go, why does this dude keep looking at me like that? He goes, it's his house, stupid. I was like, oh, the girl failed to tell us that her dad was a Fullerton police officer detective. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? So the only reason they knew I was there, my wallet was in the car and my ID was in it. So that's how they realized there was somebody missing. So they take me to juvenile hall. They get a hold of my mom, right? They find my mom somehow. They get a hold of my mom and tell my mom that I can get released to her. But I need to go to court and all that, right? So she comes down to juvenile hall. I'm in juvenile hall. She comes down to juvenile hall, and I'm 16, just getting ready to turn 17 at the time. And she comes in, and she sits down at the table, and all the guards or whatever are standing there, and we're in visitation. And she sits down, and she leans over, and she whispers to me. She goes, I frauded the welfare, and I can't take you. And I'm like, I looked at her. Hang on a second. Sorry. And I just looked at her and I said, don't you dare leave me again. I don't care who you frauded. I don't care what you did. Don't leave me in here. She goes, I can't take you. I'm leaving. I'm leaving state. And she turned around and walked out. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me right now? I couldn't believe she left me again. And so anyway, so then I'm thinking, well, I'm getting out of this place. As soon as first opportunity I get, I'm leaving. So as soon as I got an opportunity, I went over the fence and I escaped from juvenile hall, 1982. I was gone for about 3 months. I was dating some other girl and I ran into her. I went to her house. We went to a motel. And so then they were looking for somebody else in this motel. They kicked my door in thinking it was that I was somebody else. I don't even know. I think they're looking for me. I'm trying to go out the back window. And when I go out the back window, there's a drainage ditch behind that motel. And I already had it all planned out. If the cops show up, I'm going to go out that window through the drainage ditch and I'm gone. Well, they already had cops back there. So when I come out the window, they see me and point. I get back in the window and I'm just sitting in the bathroom. And it's all quiet. I don't hear nothing. I'm just like, man, I'm just sitting there. And all of a sudden, boom, the bathroom door just flies off the hinges. They come in there, tackle me, cuff me, put me in the living room. They go, what's your name? And I go, Steve Shoshone. And they just start laughing. And they go, how do you spell that? I go, Shone. He goes, no, you're Jack Wilson. And I'm thinking, oh, these guys are not even looking for me. They're looking for Jack Wilson. I'm like, gosh, darn it. So I'm like, man. So anyway, so they keep looking at me and they keep asking me all these questions. You got a job? You got an ID? You got this? You got that? You got a mom? You got a dad? You got a nut? And the cop, I keep telling, no, I don't have this. I don't have that. And he goes, well, and he goes, how do you spell Shoshone? I go, Shone. And he's like, and then he starts asking me all these questions. And I have no for everything. And he goes, you must be from outer space, huh? We're going to take you to jail and find out who you are. So they take me to jail. And of course, 37 times police contact as a juvenile, right? So when I get to the police station, Buena Park PD, I get to the police station, the captain's right there. And he goes, hey, Kovach, aren't you escaped from juvenile hall? And I'm like, man, dude. So anyway, so then they left me in juvenile hall. They take me back to juvenile hall. And now they gave me 6 months, right? And so, but I can't get released because I have no parents to get released to. Gosh, I mean, all this, like, I'm just mad. I'm furious because now I hate my mom's guts. I hate my dad's guts. I hate everything. I hate everybody. And I'm just like, so I can't get released from juvenile hall because I have no parents to get released to. So I had to sit in there till I was 18 years old. So the whole time I was in there, all I did was lift weights. So I left juvenile hall my 18th birthday. My PO came in and she said, Kovach, do you want to go home? I go, I don't got a home, lady. She goes, do you want to leave? It's your 18th birthday. We can't hold you any longer. I go, well, then it's not even a question. Obviously, I'm leaving, right? So she lets me go. So this is where I just lose it. I'm 205 pounds, 18 years old, just ripped with an attitude. Like I was out. I was out for blood. I was going to go find and hunt down everybody and destroy everything and everybody. Because now I'm not that little kid when I went to juvenile hall. Now I'm this like kid with this rage and hate, and I'm gonna take it out in the world. So here's what I started doing. So I started introducing myself, reintroducing myself to all these old people that I used to know, all these drug dealers and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to this guy's house. I'm looking for an opportunity of some kind. I don't even know. I have nowhere to live. I'm homeless. I have no friends. I have no family. So I start going around and knocking on these doors, and like guys would answer, and they'd be like, "Hey, Tracy," I'd hit them, pow, just knock them out right there at the door, go in, rob them, take all their stuff, take their drugs, their money, and I was just out of control. I didn't care if I lived or died; it didn't matter to me, so I just didn't care. But when I realized the shock factor of that for that person that just answered the door, thinking, "Oh, here's this kid that I seen last," and there was. I mean, and then there's all kinds of abusive stuff going on in the house, you know, and so I decide I'm going to start robbing drug dealers that were selling drugs to women on welfare and kids and abusing their kids in the drug world. I was like, because every house I ever went to, that was going on. And I thought, well, this is my opportunity, right? This is like great opportunity. So I start going around to all these houses and just knocking people out and taking their stuff all by myself. Because I realized the shock factor of that. Here comes this kid that's no longer a kid anymore, but here comes this kid that we used to know as a kid, coming to our house. Everyone thinks everything's all cool and fine and dandy. And back then you didn't have internet, you didn't have cell phones and all that. So, I mean, people weren't like calling each other going, hey, Tracy's coming, or this is what he's doing. Word spread real slow, right? So I'm just going from house to house, just beating people up. Then I start going to county jail. Then I'm robbing stuff, and I'm just out of control, completely out of control. I get arrested one time. I'm just beating people up, and I'm terrorizing drug dealers. I mean, terrorizing them. One guy's pulled an Uzi on me, was going to kill me, and I told him, shoot it. I yelled at him, kept pushing the gun back at him. He wouldn't shoot it. I called him a punk, slapped him, took his gun, took all of his dope, took his girls. So I mean, this was just going on and on. This is just this is what I was doing, because I just thought, I didn't care if I lived or died. It didn't matter to me if I lived or died. And that, I guess that showed people realize this kid does not care if he lives or dies. He just doesn't care. I was just completely out of control. Realized my fists had power. Realized that the element of surprise had power. So I just kept doing it. And so I started getting arrested. I terrorizing people through the whole town. I terrorized this one guy. I take this guy's car. Some girl said this guy that was abusing this kid and had this girl that he beat up and blah, blah. He just came here and his car's in the parking lot and you don't need a key. I'm like, cool. I don't have a car. I need a car. So I go downstairs, find his car. I steal it and I take off to San Diego. So I had met a guy in San Diego that was dealing drugs. He was actually cooking. And he told me that same guy had burned him for money. So if I run into that guy, I had a green light and permission to rob the dude. And I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity. I just took dude's car. I'm going to take it to that dude in San Diego and sell him the car. So it's great. And plus, everyone's going to think I'm a great guy because I just took care of business and blah, blah. So I get to San Diego. It's 2:00 in the morning. I get off the freeway and I go the wrong way on a one-way street. And there's cops. There's a bar right over here. 2:00 in the morning in California. The bars are just closing. There's 3 cops right over here on the corner. I go the wrong way on a one-way street. There's a cop at the light. There's a light above me, and he's sitting at the light. It's red. He's sitting over there coming towards me. I'm facing the other way. There's no light in front of me, and I'm like, and I'm spun out. I had been up for days, and I'm wondering, where is the light in front of me? And I'm like, I'm going, what the heck? And I'm just trying to not look at the cop. He goes by me really slow. I drive. I turn around real quick, and I go towards the store, and he's right on me. Woo! He goes, you just went the wrong way on a one-way street back there. Did you just come out of that bar? I go, no, I just got off the freeway. He goes, he runs the car, comes back stolen. The dude had immediately reported it stolen. So they take me immediately to jail, get me for grand theft auto. Take me immediately to jail. First, I give him an alias, tell him I was William White or something like that. And he keeps telling me he doesn't believe that's my name. And anyway, so then he comes in. I'm sleeping in the cell, and he comes in. This is in the city jail before we get to the county. And I hear the bars open, and he goes, Kovach. I'm like, well, he just said my name. He goes, I know who you are, Kovach. The dude told on you that you stole his car and gave me your name. And I'm like, man. So anyway, so they got me for grand theft auto. I end up in San Diego County Jail. And when I get to the jail, here's that drug dealer, the drug cook in the jail. We're in line getting chow. And he was in jail. He goes, what are you doing? I go, I came looking for you, dude. He goes, well, I'm in jail. I go, yeah, apparently, so am I. They give me a year in the county jail for beating that dude up and taking his car. So they give me a year in San Diego County Jail for that. I'm in the county jail, and I have warrants out of Fresno County because I never went back to Fresno County. Now I picked up another. So now I'm violated on the probation they gave me in Fresno County, and I had warrants out of Orange County out of Orange County. I'm in San Diego County now. So they have this camp, fire camps that they'll interview people to do fire camps. Well, I'm not eligible for fire camp. First of all, I already have an escape from juvenile hall. Plus, I have warrants, felony warrants out of Fresno. So, I mean, it's just not even a question. It's not supposed to happen. So I'm in the county jail, and these 3 ladies come in to do the camp interviews. They just do it with everybody. And so I'm charming these ladies. 2 of these ladies, I had them completely just charmed. They were just like mesmerized, and I'm just laughing, and we're having a good time. And the other lady, though, she knew exactly what I was doing, because they're like going, well, you have warrants out of Fresno County, so we can't really send you to a fire camp. We just can't. And the other lady's like, well, I don't know. Well, so if you go to a fire camp, you've got a year. If you go to a fire camp, and we're going back and forth with this whole thing. And finally they go and they say, well, we're going to talk about it and come back. Well, the one lady influenced the other 2 ladies, and they actually sent me to a fire camp. So it was right on the border of Mexico, on top of this cliff. There's like a cliff all the way around this whole thing. Like, I'm talking 100, 200 feet down. So, and it's a fire camp. I'm like, okay, well, this might work. Nah, I don't like this place. So they take count every 3 hours. They come in one day and they take count. And So there's a guy laying out sunbathing, and there's a cliff behind him, and there's just wilderness as far as you see, mountains and hills. And I see a trail way off in the distance on like one of these hills. And I look at this dude, he's laying on the ground. I go, hey, which way is the nearest anything? And he's laying there sunbathing, and he doesn't even open his eyes. He just points like where that trail is. And I look down the cliff, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And I just start rolling down this cliff. I'm sliding and rolling, getting cut up, falling, slide, roll, just all the way down. I hit the bottom, and it's a trench that has all this brush growing over it. So I hit the brush and end up in the trench, and I'm like crouched down, and all the whole brush is all the way. You can see the trail going around the corner, and I'm under all this stuff, and I'm punch out through the stuff, and I look up, and I'm just thinking, I ain't going back up. I'm committed now, so I'm out. So I just start hiking. I just keep on walking and walking and walking and walking. And finally I run across this family on horseback in the middle of nowhere. And this dude looks at me like, what the heck are you even doing here, dude? And he goes, what, are you lost? I go, I'm not really lost. Which way is anything? And he goes, well, if you take this trail and go down, the road's going to be like just not even about 2 miles that way, and blah, blah, blah. All right, thank you. And they were just all sitting there just like looking at each other. And I just kept walking, just ignoring them. So now I'm hiking, and the road is right there. Now they took count every 3 hours. So I know it's been about 2 hours now. They're getting ready to probably take count pretty soon and realize I'm not there. So then the streets are going to be full of cops looking for me and whatever. So I see the road, and I go completely on this other trail that goes back off into the woods. Now I'm hiking through the woods, and as I'm hiking through the woods, I run across like these 7 Marines that are in the middle of nowhere drinking and smoking pot. And they all just startles them because they just turn around. Like all of a sudden, here's this person, and they turn around and look at me. They go, this one guy goes, the one Marine goes, what are you doing out here, bro? I just looked at him. I go, dude, I just escaped from this jail over here, and I got to get to Orange County. And they're like, what? You escaped from jail? That's cool, bro. It gives me a joint and a beer. And I get drunk and high, and they go, dude, all right, we'll take you back to Orange County. So this one guy they picked to take me back to Orange County, he made me shave my face, and he put a USMC shirt on me so we could go through the border check. And they just looked at us and waved us through, and I ended up back in Orange County. So, yeah, just crazy stuff. So that was just my life. I mean, it was just every day of my life was like that. So now I got 2 escapes. So now I'm gone. So mind you, now remember the guy that told on me that for stealing his car. So my first thought is, I'm going to find this dude because I'm going to beat him up for being a rat. So I go find this dude. He's at this other drug dealer's house that's supposed to be this crazy guy with Uzis, and he'll shoot you and kill you and all this. And I didn't care again. Like I didn't care if I lived or died. So I go to this house, and he's in between 2 cars working on the brakes of this one car. And he's sitting Indian style working on his car. And he had the spindle was right there by his face. And I walked around the corner of this car. Nobody else was around. I walked around the corner of this car because I had talked to somebody, said, oh no, he's over at this dude's house. Because I was going, where's that dude at? And anyway, so I end up over there. He looks up, he's working on the brakes, and he looks up and sees me, and I just grabbed his hair and just smashed his face into the spindle of the car. Bow, bow, bow. I just started beating him, just unconscious. Drug him out to the middle of the driveway, just left him there, and then took off. So then, mind you, I'm escaped now, right? So I'm off running amok. I'm just doing whatever I want to do. It's back in my same town, right? Yeah. That's how smart a drug addict and a criminal is. So I'm back in the same town. I'm escaped from jail. Now this dude, I'm in a motel one day, and all of a sudden cops show up with this dude again. He finds out where I'm at. I don't know, this is like 3 months later. He finds out where I'm at, and he calls the cops and brings them to this motel where I'm at. The same guy. So then I try to go out. I'm in the second floor. I go out there. I'm going to jump out the second floor window, but the cops had already surrounded the whole building. So I come out. They tell me to come out on a blowhorn. They tell me to come out with my hands up. I come out, and I get down to the bottom, and I had shaved my face. So the last picture they had of me, I had a beard, goatee, and whatever. So the one guy, and it's Buena Park cops, again, always Buena Park cops. The cop tells me to sit on the ground. That dude is standing there, and the cop looks at him and goes, what'd you say his name was? He said, that's Tracy Kovach. He escaped from San Diego County Jail. And the cop tells me, he goes, what's your name? And I tell him, Ralph Abercrombie or some stupid thing like that. So I can't spell Abercrombie, right? I'm burnt. So the cop's like, listen, get a picture of Tracy Kovach. So they had a picture printed out on their card, and he gets this picture, and he looks at it, and he looks at me, and he goes, look up. And I look up, and he calls the other cop over, and he looks at the picture, looks at me, and goes, that's not even him. I don't think this is the guy. And the other cop goes, it doesn't look like him. And I'm thinking, yeah, doesn't look like me at all. And then a sergeant pulls up and goes, hey, Tracy Kovach, aren't you escaped from San Diego County Jail? Oh my gosh. So boom, they throw me back in jail. They gave me 2 years in the county jail. I go through riots. They put me in high power, maximum security, go through race riots, all kinds of stuff in there. Get out, still running amok. They put me on probation. I violate my probation, catch another charge, go rob this guy at a Disneyland, have a high-speed chase with the cops. I robbed this dude. Some chick owned the car. She called the cops and said I robbed her. That's how I got out of that. They were offering me 11 years for that, but because she lied, I actually robbed this dude and not her because she couldn't stand me and was trying to get me in trouble. I took his gun, took his dope, which was her dope. That's why she was calling the cops. He said he had nothing to do with it. Anyways, it's a whole mess. So anyway, I get out for that. Then I end up going to prison. So my first prison sentence was Folsom Prison, 1988 or 89, something like that. And I thought I died and went to hell. It was the most, because now I got 2 escapes. So that's the only reason I'm in maximum security, closed custody in Folsom Prison in California. And back then in those days, especially in California, Folsom Prison of all places, all the gangs were there running stuff. I'm talking these dudes that were just monsters, 7'2", 460 pounds, just ripped. He had weights on the yards. Dude that's running the yard for the white guys, he's got 36-inch arms. I'm like, I couldn't even believe my eyes. I'm just like this little young kid. I'm like 24 at the time, and I'm just going, what the heck? Seen some guy, ghost white skin, ghost white hair, like this guy was like a ghost, just pale. He was about 90 years old, pushing a broom, just staring. He would push and take a step, push, take a step. And I'm just like, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I go through there and then I start meeting all the fellas that take me under their wing and start teaching me all the stuff in there. And they think I'm this cool kid. And now they start teaching me all of their stuff. And then I end up getting all the prison ink and earning all of my stripes and all that stuff. So then I ended up going to, I was in 13 different prisons in California and Arizona. So I went to Folsom, Soledad, Solano, Vacaville, Chino, Avenal. So in 1995, because I would get out. One time I got out for like 6 hours and caught another charge and went right back. But I was just back and forth, all the way from the time I was a juvenile till then. And I didn't even care because I didn't have family. That was my family. Everyone I knew was in prison or jail. So it didn't really matter to me. So in 1995, I had caught new charges. 95 was when that happened with the high-speed chase. They got me for carjacking, armed robbery, for that whole thing. I beat the charge, but then I was still on parole, so they put me back into prison for a parole violation because they found bullets in the car and all this. That's why I had a parole violation. So I go back to prison, beat up everybody in the prison yard. So I'm just fighting all day long, every day. Went back to the hole a number of times. That's my whole, just beating people up the whole time. And then I maxed out. I actually had a year, but I had 18 months left on parole. So I ended up doing the whole 18 months in prison for that time. Then I discharged my number. So what that means is you're done with your time. You don't have any more parole. So they can't hold you anymore unless you catch a new charge, which they call a street beef. I'm beating up everybody on the yard, and the captain calls me in her office one day just before I leave. I'm like 30 days before I leave, and I'm just out of control, just beating people up, don't even care, just trying to make a name for myself. And the captain calls me, and she goes, Kovach, you got 30 days left. She goes, if you keep beating people up, I'm going to street beef you, which means she'll get me a charge that I'll go to court for and catch more time. So she goes, just go to your cell, stay in your cell for 30 days, or I am going to street beef you. So I did. I went in my cell, stayed away from everything, everyone, got out. And there's a whole story that goes on with that too. Like the whole yard was full of white supremacist cops. I could get away with everything. I'm beating people up. They're giving me illegal Walkmans and stuff that aren't even supposed to be on the yard. I'm beating people up. They're telling me that that person deserved to get beat up. They had some guy coming in. I'm on a bottom bunk, and in order to have a bottom bunk in California at the time, you needed what's called a lower bunk chrono, like a slip saying you have medical issues or whatever. Well, the only one that had a lower bunk in the place was me. Well, this little white guy comes in, goes up to the cops and shows him his lower bunk chrono, and the cop goes, well, the only lower bunk in here is that dude's. And he calls me up to the podium and goes, so hey, Tracy, this dude's got a lower bunk chrono and thinks he's coming to your bunk. And the guy goes, I don't even want it. He rips up his lower bunk chrono and walks away. And the cop goes, That's what I thought. And then, so this whole time this is going on in there. So anyways, my brothers get a hold of me, my older brother. So he gets a hold of me. He writes me a letter just before I get out that time. And he says, why don't you, we're in Mesa, Arizona. Why don't you get out of California before you catch a third strike and end up doing the rest of your life in prison? We're living out here in Mesa, Arizona. I know you've never been here, but we have an apartment and everything. I'm like, okay. So I think, okay, well, that's great. I'll go out to Mesa. I never held a job in my life. Maybe I can get a job, right? I don't even know. I don't even have a driver's license. I don't have an ID, nothing. So I jump on a Greyhound bus. We stop off in Bakersfield for about 11 o'clock at night for like a 3-hour layover or whatever it was. And now, mind you, I haven't drank in a long time at this point. There's a biker bar right next to a tattoo parlor in Bakersfield on Main Street. And Greyhound bus goes there. I go, okay, I'm gonna go get a drink. So I go into this bar and I tell this guy that I just got out of prison. And at the time I was benching 425, I was squatting 650, but I was like 80 pounds lighter than I am now. I only weighed about 205, but I was just ripped. That's all I did was lift weights. So anyways, I'm in the bar. This guy is going, oh, dude, you just got out of prison. He's buying me drink after drink after drink, and I'm just pounding him, not thinking, what's the consequences were. Well, I get so drunk all of a sudden, I can't even see out of one eye, and I stagger into this tattoo parlor next door. I didn't even know. I mean, it's 12 o'clock at night, and I just push the door, and it opens, and it's closed, obviously, and there's nobody in it. It's dark in there. There's one light over the tattoo chair that was there, and I stagger into place, and I flop down on the chair, and I'm just drunk, just going, my head's spinning, and some big old biker dude comes out of the back room and goes, what the F you doing in my parlor? I go, I'm God, and I own this place. That's all I remember saying. And I sat there, and he didn't say nothing. He just turned around, walked past the curtain, and went back in the back room. About 15 minutes goes by, and all these dudes come in with baseball bats and just start. I seen them coming in, and I stood up and squared off at them, and the dude that was in the front just swung the baseball bat and knocked all my front teeth out, knocked me down, bam, it knocked me down, and they were just all beating me with their baseball bats. I'm dragging myself to the curb trying to get out the front door, and they're just beating. But luckily there was so many of them, they were beating each other more than they were hitting me. But I'm getting hit in the back of the head, everything. These guys are trying to grab my legs and pull me back in, and I'm trying to get out the door, and I fell and stumbled onto the sidewalk, and they closed the door and locked it. And I'm bleeding everywhere. All my teeth are missing. And I stagger back into the bar, and everyone's like, what the heck? They call the cops. The cops come, and they arrest me for disorderly conduct. So check this out. You can't even I know this is my life. You can't even make this stuff up. So I get to the jail. I'm missing my teeth. My head is pounding. I'm cut everywhere. I walk into the jail, and I walk into the holding cell. And the minute I walk into the holding cell, the officer, and they keep asking me if I want to press charges. And I'm going, did you find my teeth? I'm like spitting, do you find my teeth? And they just start laughing at each other. They go, that's all he keeps saying. That's all he said. Did you find my teeth? That's all I kept saying. So they put me in this holding cell, and then they walk away. Well, the minute they walk away, this big old black guy gets off of this bench and walks over to this little tiny white dude and just punches him right off this bench. Boom! And I was like, well, that's not good. And I beat this dude all over the cell. But mind you, I'm half drunk right now. I don't even know. I haven't even looked at the cell. I don't even know who's even in the cell. So I beat this big old black dude up. Boom, boom, boom. I beat him up, knock him out. And when I knocked him out, I hit him again, and I turned around, and it's a big holding cell. And there is like a whole army of black guys right there. And they just all grouped up. And I'm thinking, oh, snap. That's okay. I just squared off at him, and all of a sudden I hear somebody behind me, and I turn around, and there's a whole army of Mexican guys behind me that have got my back. And the one Mexican guy that's running, dude, I know, you can't even make this stuff up. I'm like, dude, and the Mexican guy looks at the head of the black guys and goes, that dude deserved to get beat up for hitting that white dude. And the black guy goes, yeah, okay. Well, right when all that's going down, the cop comes back in here and goes, you need to be in a cell by yourself, don't you? And they snatch me up and pull me and put me in the cell by myself because they were watching it on the camera. So I go to cell by myself. So then when I come out, I'm missing all my teeth. I fall asleep, and I wake up, and first thing the cop says, he goes, are you ready to go home? I just go, where's my teeth? And they laugh at each other. They go, see, that's all he keeps saying. Where's my teeth? That's funny. Here's your clothes. Well, when I got beat up, all of my property, I had a sweatshirt, and sweatpants, and I had my property and everything. Well, the biker guys had cut my sweat clothes all up and just put them back in the bag. And the cop hands me this bag. Everything's all cut up. And I'm just like, I get on the bus, come here, get to Mesa. My brother's like, what happened to you? where's your teeth, dude? I go, that's what I kept asking him. But so I get here, I end up beating up like 8 guys at this apartment complex in Apache Junction. These dudes just got mouthy with me, and I'm like, I don't know. And 7 dudes I beat up in like a week at this apartment complex because they were getting mouthy with me. I would just beat them up. And every time they would call the cops and the sheriffs would show up. And mind you, I just got here. I don't even know anything about Arizona. And the cops would show up, the sheriffs would show up, and there'd be like, both my brothers, my younger brother and my older brother are there. And we're all partying and doing all this stuff that we're doing. And so the sheriffs would show up, and then my brothers would back me up and say, the dude swung at him first. Every time, all 7 times. And the last time, the cop tells me, one more time, we got to come out here. You're going to jail. I'm like, one more time? Dude, it's been 7. Where are we at? Anyways, I don't even know. What am I, in the Old West? I see people walking around with these big old guns on their sides. I'm like, I'm not in California anymore. You know what I mean? I'm in Apache Junction, East Mesa. And so then I just started running them up. I did not come out here they used to call me the regulator. I regulated the drug world. I would rob these drug dealers that sold drugs to women on welfare and kids and whatever. But I would introduce myself to drug dealers, and I would evaluate the situation for myself and do drugs with them, and we'd have a good time. And I would just evaluate the situation. If there was kids involved, I would pull the people over that own the house and say, listen, if I catch you one more time doing drugs in front of your kids, I'm going to rob you. I even had people go, well, who do you think you are? I'd tell them, I'm God. That's who I am. Let me catch you again. And then when dudes would do it again, I would actually have them help me load my truck with their stuff. They would help me empty their house out with their stuff. And that's just how out of control I was. So anyway, so I'm doing this. I'm doing that whole thing the whole time I'm out here. And I'm not trying to, so I didn't come out here actually to do that. I came out here to try to see if I could hold a job, and I never had a job. So I went and got my license. First time I ever had my license, I was 29 when I got here. So I started driving a tow truck out here. Then I started driving a cab, and then I met a girl. It's usually the end of the story. Then I met a girl, and then I got back out of prison. But that's the story. So I mean, you hear it 1,000 times in the world I come from. So I meet this girl. I'm not trying to meet any tweakers. I don't want to know anything about drug addicts out here. I'm just trying to work. I held a job for 2.5 years driving a tow truck, but I was drinking on the weekends and doing on the weekends, and just like I was a weekend warrior, and I was just kind of having a good time. And then I meet this girl. Her and I get in an argument one time. I go to work. I come back, and my whole house is empty. Everything. The pictures off the walls, the furniture, everything is gone. Everything. I'm talking, there wasn't not even a dish, nothing. She emptied out my whole place. And I was like, I walked in, and I'm like, what the heck? The neighbor comes over and goes, yeah, some redheaded guy in a white Ford pickup truck with a blue tailgate helped that girl load all that stuff and leave. I go, and you guys just let them do it? We don't know if you're moving, or we don't know. So I'm just like, all right. So I quit my job, and I went on a mission to find a white Ford pickup truck with a blue tailgate. I was up for 2 weeks straight. I scoured these streets in my truck. I drove down every alley, every street, all the way from here to Florence, everywhere, just looking I was going to find this girl. I was going to find my stuff. Nobody's going to treat me like that. And I'm going to, it's on. I can't wait to find this guy. 2 weeks straight, I looked for this truck, and I went down. I'm talking, dude, you have no idea. I didn't sleep. I went through every street, alley, just day and night. Finally, I'm just worn out. I'm done. I'm on Broadway and Ellsworth, just west. There's a little store around Hawes and Broadway right there, a little gas station. It's still there. I'm just done. I'm so tired, and I pull up to that gas station to get something to drink, and I'll be darned. A white Ford pickup with a blue tailgate with a redhead driving it pulls up. And I was like, I walked over, and the dude, he was in the store. I get out of my truck, and I walked over to his truck. He came out of the store, and the minute he seen me, his eyes locked, and he goes, dude, all your stuff is in my driveway. I had nothing to do with it. All I know is this girl told me to come. I go, get in your truck, stupid. He gets in his truck. I follow him to his house. There's all my stuff in his driveway. So now I beat this dude up, and I moved into his house. And I thought, okay, you people want to play? I was trying not to come out here and do this. Do you want to play? And so they just poked the bear, and it just got me going. I started robbing drug dealers out here. I took out 65 households of drug addicts out here by myself with no gun. I got shot in the throat with a 9mm. So I robbed this dude. So mind you, I don't know if you know the drug world. It's a very strange, interesting place. But so there was this guy that was dealing, he started dealing drugs. He was a construction man. I'm like, he was a good friend of mine. Um, and so we would always do drugs together and throw darts and drink beer and whatever. He starts dealing drugs, and I'm hunting people down that are selling drugs to women on welfare and kids and trading drugs for food stamps. That's what I'm doing. And everybody knows it. So he starts dealing drugs, and somebody comes to me one day and goes, "Hey, this dude just sold drugs to this kid." I'm like, well, that's not cool. So I go and find him. I go, "Hey, dude, don't pay attention to who you're selling your dope to. You just don't just sell it to anyone because you need money, dude." So and I went about my business. Then someone comes and tells me he does it again. Then someone told me he traded drugs for food stamps from this lady that had kids that would trade all of her food stamps for dope. And anyway, so I go find him again. I'm like, "Listen, dude, I'm going to tell you again, dude. Don't be selling your." I go, as a matter of fact, do this. Once you do this, I go, "I don't care if you do drugs. That's none of my business. But if I catch you selling drugs, I'm going to rob you." I go, "I like you. I'm not trying to rob you." I go, "But if I catch you selling drugs again, I'm going to rob you, dude." I go, "You know what I do for a living." That's what I do. You know what I mean? I go, "I'm trying not, I like you. I don't have a problem with you, but you're a construction man. Go construct something. I don't care if you do dope, but don't sell it to anybody." So then he tells me, "Well, who do you think you are?" And I tell him, "Well, I think I'm God. That's who I am." I go, "Listen, I'm not going to tell you again, dude." I go, "I like you. I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't want to. I'm just telling you, just don't sell the drugs. Just, I don't care if you do them or not." So he keeps doing it. So I told him to stop selling drugs. One day I spread the word all over town that he's not supposed to be selling drugs. I walk into this drug house one time. It was a straight up flop house. Everybody came there for drugs. It was in Apache Junction. So I go to this house, and I was always just driving around looking for opportunity. So I drive up to this house. The house is full of people. When I get to the house, the lady that owns the house, she's like, "Hey, dude's in the back bedroom. And he's got a whole bunch of dope. He's selling it right now." I was like, I go, "Is that why he's here?" She goes, "Yeah, that's why he's here." All right. So I go in the back bedroom. He sees me, and he just gets this look on his face like, "Oh, man." I told him, "Give me your dope, dude." He goes, "F you." And I pulled my gun out, and he goes, "What are you going to do? Shoot me?" And I cocked the gun, and I pointed it at his knee, and he throws the dope at me, a big old ball of meth, throws it at me. He goes, "You know what, dude? One of these days you're going to get yours." I go, "Listen, dude, I told you already, dude, if I catch you selling dope again, it's on. So don't let me catch you again." So then, like, another night goes by, and him and I end up drinking beer together and doing drugs together and throwing darts and partying together. And this is going on, right? So 4 times I take this dude's stuff. I take his gun, I take his hot rod, I take his boat, I take his gun cabinet, I take his knife cabinet. So this is going on like 5 different times. So one day I go to this other dude's house. I rob this other dude because he gets mouthy with me. I take his guns. I take a wire-free welder from him. So I figured, okay, I'm going to go up to dude's house, and because he's up there building a house for his dad's company. So I'm going to go up to his house. I went there earlier when nobody was at the house, and I stole all of his tools. Well, so all of his tools, his roll away, everything, loaded in my truck and left. Well, nobody even knew I did it. So I thought, well, I'm going to go back and just see what the word is out there. So I go back to his house with a wire-free welder and a 6-pack of beer to throw darts with him. And when I walk into his house, this little Mexican guy answers the door. And when he goes, "What do you do, SA?" And I go, "Man, get out of my way, dude." And I pushed him out of the way. I go, "Where's dude at?" And I walk over, and the dude is sitting in a high back leather chair facing the hallway. And there's a table behind him. And I walked up, and I go, "I got a present for you, dude." And I set the beer down and the welder down. And he turned around with a 9mm pointed right at my forehead. And I laughed at him. I go, "Dude," he goes, did you rip me off today?" I go, "Dude, listen, dude." He goes, "You know what, dude?" He goes, I'll shoot you right in your face." I go, "Listen." I started laughing. I go, "You know that you pull a gun on me, you have to kill me. You know that, right?" And dude, I knew the minute I said that, his eyes went black like a shark, and his face just went blank, and he pulled the trigger. Pow! And when he pulled the trigger, he was like from me to, he was not even from me to that couch. And when he pulled the trigger, it was just like a movie. Everything around the gun went black, and I watched the bullet come out in slow motion. So the bullet came out of the gun in slow motion, coming right for my forehead. It was just the trippiest thing. I watched it come in slow motion right towards my forehead, and it turned and it hit my throat instead of my forehead, and the powder hit my face. And it stood me up and spun me around. And I thought, oh man. And I watched the bullet come out of it spun me around so fast that I watched the bullet come out of my shoulder blade, and my bone fragment and the bullet went through the sliding glass door behind me, left a basketball sized hole in the sliding glass door behind me. Boom! And spun me around. And I thought, oh snap, I'm hit. And I turned for the back door, and I ran down the hall to the back door where the laundry washer and dryer was by the back door. And I stopped. I knew I was hit, but I didn't know where. I didn't feel any blood, any pain. I didn't see any blood. And I was just dazed. And I thought, I'm hit somewhere here. I know I'm hit somewhere, but I didn't know where. And I was still just a little dazed. And I stopped and I looked around the corner to see if maybe the gun went off by accident. And when I stopped, I looked around the corner, and dude was messing with the gun, and he looked up and see me, went boom, and shot again. And the bullet hit the wall next to me. And I thought, at that point, oh, apparently it did not go off by accident. So I turned for the back door to run, and blood squirted out of my neck, like from here to that wall, like this big old stream. He hit my jugular vein on this side, and a big old stream of blood squirted. Well, my first reaction as I'm running out the back door is I need to find this hole, because if it does that, I'm going to run out of blood. And I found the hole, and I stuck my finger in the hole about that deep all the way down. And I'm running across the backyard. Now, mind you, I got a gun in this pocket over here. This whole shoulder is shattered because I can't move it. It's just dangling because it blew out my shoulder blade. So I'm running across this backyard, and he's still shooting at me, missing. Boom, boom, boom. And the ground next to me is going, pew, pew. I'm running and running. I get across the backyard, and there's no fence. I get across the backyard, and I start banging my head on this door of the neighbor's house, and nobody answers. So I go to the next door neighbor's house from there, because then the dude is still shooting at me. And then when I ran around the corner, he stopped shooting, and I go to the next door neighbor's house and bang my head on his door. And this guy opens the door. I'm covered in blood. I got my finger in the hole, and he's like, he calls 911. He's got his kid next to him. He's pushing him back. And I go, I've been shot. And some dude at the top of the street is jogging and sees me. He goes, you all right? I go, I've been shot. And he's like, oh man. And all this chaos is going on. I'm telling this guy to take this gun out of my back pocket. He's on 911. And I hear he's got it on speakerphone. And he's like, I keep going, because I don't want the sheriff to show up. I got a gun in my back pocket, right? And I can't reach the gun. This shoulder's shattered. I'm not taking my finger out of the hole, but I just don't want to have a gun in my pocket when the cops show up, right? And I thought I was going to pass out. I've seen movies, right? I've been shot. I'm going to pass out. And I'm like, I'm breathing heavy, and the pain was intense. The pain, it didn't hurt here. It hurt where it blew my shoulder out. And I'm sitting here going, oh, I guess I'm going to pass out now. Now's when I'm going to pass out. I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to pass out. And I never did pass out. And the pain was insane. So dude is on the phone, and I keep telling him to take this gun out of my backpack. Right? He won't. So I'm trying to drag my arm on the bushes to move this arm back there near my back pocket so I could get the gun. And I just couldn't. And he tells the 911 operator, he keeps telling me to take this gun out of his back pocket. And she goes, well, take the gun out of his back pocket. So he comes over, gets the gun. Cops show up. Ambulance shows up. They airback me to the hospital. And when they're airbacking me to the hospital, I guess they went back. Dude ran from the house. They just assumed, because they knew he was a drug dealer, and they just put two and two together. He tried to take off. They arrested him too. Then they found drugs in his house. But then I'm in the hospital. So as I'm in the hospital, they're asking me if I want to press charges. I'm like, nah, get out of here, dude. I'm not press charges on nobody. Well, the dude tells the cops that I was burglarizing his house, and he pulled his gun like John Wayne and shot me. And I tell them the story that I just told you, and they don't believe me. They're like, you're so full of it, Kovach. I go, did you find a wire-free welder and a six-pack of beer? They said, we did. I go, well, how many people bring a wire-free welder and a six-pack of beer to a robbery? And they're like, they didn't want to hear it. So they ended up arresting me like 8 months later. They let me go. I got stitches all the way across my throat, sitting in the county jail. So a $50,000 bond. They arrest me for aggravated assault. And then he sent a lawyer to my house, his lawyer to the house, and said, if I agree not to kill him, then he will drop all the charges. So then I said, okay, I'll agree not to kill him. And then they dropped all the charges. So, but him and his lawyer were doing drugs. So it's just this whole crazy thing going on, right? So meanwhile, when I get shot in the throat, there was 150 people told on me. There was a 250-page police report. All these people are telling on me that were on this police report saying I was extorting them and robbing them and all this stuff. So every night after that, I leave my house and the cops are right on me, pull me over. Where's the gun, Kovach? I'm like, what gun? They go, you got to have a gun. You just got shot. You're going to ride around the neighborhood at night without a gun? We don't believe it. So they searched my whole truck. They don't find anything. The gun was underneath the hood. They never did search under the hood. But anyway, so this goes on for a while. So now I just end up isolating because now the cops are all over me. I can't do anything. I can't rob anybody. The cops are waiting for me. So I just sat in my house for 7 years, from 2000. That was in 2000. From 2000 to 2007, I just isolated myself in a house, barricaded myself in this house, doing drugs. I would sneak out at night and go rob certain people. Just trying to isolate, just trying to stay away from everything and everyone, and just getting involved in pornography and sex and just all this stuff going on this whole 7 years, which is miserable, lost, broken. By that time, I was just broken and just miserable, playing cat and mouse with the cops every day. They're shining lights on my house. They're trying to get me for illegal stuff. They're harassing me. I'm harassing them. And it's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for years. Finally, they drive an armored car into my house in May 22nd, 2007. I guess they got done playing. It was funny because when they drove that armored car right through my block wall into the front of my house and shot percussion grenades in the house. I had put a block wall around the whole house, right? Wrought iron and block. And then I had an electric gate that opened with a remote control that I had. And I had security cameras that swept the front yard and a security camera in the backyard so I could watch. It's the only TV I ever watched was this. I'm all spun out doing massive amounts of meth. I'm doing an ounce of meth at a time. I'm just like spun out of my mind, just out of control. And if I watched the camera, if I wanted to let someone in, I had 5 Shar-Pei pits that would make sure nobody got in. So then finally I had a guy that lived in my backyard. I called my yard dog. He would go out on his 10-speed or his bicycle, and he would ride around the neighborhood at 1 o'clock in the morning to make sure there's no cops in the neighborhood, so I could go out at night, so I could go get some dope and whatever. I mean, and just do what I do. What I had done was I had barricaded myself in this single wide mobile home, right? I had framed the inside of the back bedroom. I framed it and then put 3/4 inch tongue and groove plywood on the ceiling, the floor, and the walls with insulation, so you couldn't get in. I had used what's it called, JB Weld and liquid nail to put boards on the windows, so you couldn't even come through the window, inside and out, multiple layers. So I mean, just like this fortress, I had put a hole that the door that went into the bedroom. You know how mobile homes are. There's that back door goes into the bedroom. Well, that opened out. So when I framed the house, I had put an eye screw in the frame of the wall, and then ran a ratchet strap from that to the door with another eye hook right there on the door, so I could ratchet strap it so nobody could pull it open. And then I built solid doors in between each room, from the living room to the bedroom, with these boards that are put underneath the door, so you're not getting in. Period. It doesn't matter who you are, because I was just so paranoid from the cops, the robbers. You know what I mean? I was just paranoid out of it. So I fall asleep one night, and when I fall asleep, all of a sudden I hear, the only reason I even heard the armored car is because I had the sound up on the security camera. I didn't hear it in the actual room because it was so barricaded, so insulated. But I heard it on the security camera, woke me up, and I looked up at the screen, and here's all these cops with this Bearcat or whatever they call it, just drove right through my block wall. They're all lined up with all their cop gear just coming in. And I heard a couple shots go off, boom, boom. Well, I guess my guy that I had in the backyard, he heard the noise and came out with a rake in his hand from around the corner, and it shot him with a rubber slug right here, bam, and dropped him. Meanwhile, they're trying to saw the door open, and it's just all this stuff's happening so fast. I hid the drugs I had in my curtain rod, and then smashed my meth pipe and bong on the wall, and I told them, I'm coming out, and I just popped the ratchet strap open because they weren't getting in. They were going to, it was going to be a standoff, and I was in no condition to stand off to anything. So I just came out. They arrest me, get me to the county jail. Before they got me to the county jail, my blood pressure was 263 over 210. I heard the paramedics say that as I was passing out. So, because my blood pressure was so high from injecting so much, and I was just bloated and just like, I had abscesses and misses all over my arms, my legs, my pelvis, my neck from missing, trying to inject. And it's just, I was in bad shape. And God knew that. See, God knew I was getting ready to die, and God used the sheriffs to save my life. I know that. So 4 times they took me back to the hospital. The jail wouldn't even take me because my blood pressure was so high. So they kept sending me back to the hospital and back and forth, back and forth. Finally, when I get to the jail, they take me in. And now, mind you, I'm, for lack of better words, they call it shot callers for the whites, right? So I have all the ink and all the tattoos, and even without the ink, that's just who I was, right? So when I get into the cell, they put me in maximum security in 4th Avenue jail. And when I get in there, first thing out of my mouth was, I said, I'm just keeping it real, exactly what I said. I looked at this white guy and I said, beat up that homosexual and get off my bunk, stupid. And so they beat up the homosexual, and they got all their stuff off the bottom bunk so I could go there. So I went to sleep. I had been up for a very long time. I don't even know. I always make jokes. I've been up for 8 years, so I don't know how long I was up, but I was up forever just slamming meth. I couldn't sleep. I was so paranoid. I needed to know where everybody was because I didn't need people to sneak up on me. So it's just this terrible, like miserable world I was stuck in. So anyway, so I go to sleep for like 3 weeks, and I get up, and I remember when I wake up, I'm running the pods for the whites, and this little Mexican guy comes in, all tattooed out, and he comes in and he goes, "Hey, bro, let's go to church." I'm like, "Man, get out of here, dude. I am God. I'm going to church." I go to church for what? I'm God. I'm going to go there and talk to myself. And he's like, "No, bro, let's just go to church to get out of our cell." And I was like, "Whatever. I'm not going to church, dude." So I just go about my business. And a couple of days later, he comes in and goes, "Hey, bro, let's go to church, man." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not going to church with you, man. Just leave me alone." So then a couple more days goes by, and then I start working out with the guy. He's like my workout partner. And then he asked me again, "Hey, let's go to church." I'm like, "Well, I mean, what do you tell your workout partner?" Right. So now, mind you, so I know that was a long story to get to where we're at right now. So now we're going to get to where God came into my life. So a God that I never knew ever. He talks me into coming to church with him. I never heard nothing about Christians except for they were judgmental, hypocritical. That's all I ever heard about Christians, right? So, and I know now that's just people. People are just judgmental, hypocritical. It has nothing to do with Christians. So anyway, so I'm thinking this little preacher guy in the church is going to say something stupid and judge me. I'm going to feel the judgment come off of this dude because I'm just who I am. I look like I do, and I'm just who I am, right? I'm in jail, maximum security. So I'm just waiting for this guy to say something stupid. And I'm thinking, I got a whole pocket full of stupid for this guy. Like, I'm a master of stupid, right? I got something for you, bud. So I walk into church with the guy, and you always say, before, I don't know, before people give their lives to Jesus or have God in their life, and say, "If I go to church, it's going to light on fire." You know what I mean? I always said that. If the whole place will light on fire. Well, it didn't. Okay. So I go into this church service, and there's probably about 40 of us in there. And I sit down, and I'm getting ready to be a smart aleck to this guy. I'm just sitting there. I'm in the back, and I'm just sitting there just because I have to be there. And I'm just looking, and the preacher starts handing out this paper. It was a prayer that he had written out on a piece of paper. And it was talking about dealing with giants in your life. And then there was a blank in it. It said, "Dealing with the giant of blank in your life." And he said, "Fill in that blank. Whatever that giant is in your life, put it there where that blank is." And I was like, this is my perfect opportunity, right? I'm going to wait. All right. I go, "What about the giant in me, man?" And he looks at me. And for all the Christians that are out there, it's so important that we have love in our hearts, because it wasn't what this man said. It was how he said it. He just said it with love in his heart. It wasn't what he said. He just looked, because all he said was, he looked me right in the eye and he goes, "That's perfect. You put that there." And that's all he said. But he said it with love. I felt the love. I didn't feel any judgment come off him. I felt the love come off him. And it was like he seen me. He looked me right in the eye, and he seen me. And I felt the love in his heart, and it just shut me up, and I didn't have anything to say. And I was like, my partners are all, "Ooh, dude, burned you." I'm like, "Shut up." So I'm sitting there, and then he starts reading out the Bible. Now check it out. I spent my whole life, I sacrificed my life looking for that clarification in life. I thought it was drugs and women and beating people and taking over towns and prison yards and all this stuff to fill that void that I had in my heart. I thought if I could get to that status, if I could get all my gang tattoos and do all this stuff, if I could get there, because that's what I'm looking for, because my life is so messed up, it can never be fixed again. So that must be where I'm going. When I can get to this status, then I've made it to where I'm going. Well, I got to that status. It was the most lonely place I've ever been at. So here I am, I'm sitting in there, and he starts reading out the Bible. And I had always knew in my life that there was more to life than what I was doing, but I didn't think it was for me. I thought I had ruined my life so bad that I could never be fixed. And so when I'm sitting there and he starts reading out the Bible, and because I was looking for that, I was just looking for that thing. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I knew when I seen it, I would know it. Does that make sense? But I didn't have no idea what I was looking for. And that was what made me so broken when I got arrested, because now they're offering me 35 to 100 years in prison, and my blood pressure's maxed out. I'm done. I spent my whole life looking for clarification. I've been miserable my whole life, and now I'm going to do the rest of my life in prison, and I was just broken. I'm like, I never found that clarification. I never found what it was I was looking for. And then he starts reading out of the Bible, and I was like, what the heck was that? I don't even know what he was reading out of. I wish I would remember what scripture it was he was reading, but he starts reading out of the Bible, and I was like, that was like information I've been looking for my whole life. What the heck was that? I was like, I didn't even know that information even existed. I thought it was just, and so I was like, I want to know more. I want to hear more of this. What was that? I want to know more. So the preacher starts coming in and doing one-on-one visits with me. And I go back to my cell. I'm living in a cell with a white guy, right? I'm running the pod for the whites. And I go back to my cell. I could never figure out why nothing would ever work for me. It didn't matter if I did it legal, illegal. It didn't matter what I did. I could never come out of this hole, this pit I was in. Like I was just stuck in that for the rest of my life, just miserable and hopeless. And so I go back to my cell one day and I walk in my cell. It's a 2-man cell and maximum security. And I walk in there and my celly's in there. And I looked at him. I go, it's Jesus. He goes, what? I go, it's Jesus, dude. He goes, Jesus what? I go, it's Jesus. Dude, it's Jesus. I start jumping around the cell and I'm like, dude, it's Jesus. The whole time I'm looking for Jesus. The whole time, my whole life. And I just start jumping around the cell. 3 days I jumped around that cell. Just look at my hair stand up. Because just for 3 days I just jumped around the cell, just so on fire, just going, dude, it's Jesus. And dude thought I lost my mind. He's like, don't hit me. What? Don't hit me, bro. What? Are you all right? I go, no, dude. I'm telling you. I go, no, it couldn't be that easy. It could not be. Like the last thing I ever thought of was Jesus and God. That's the last thing I ever thought of. I was just, because I always used to chase Jehovah's Witnesses out of away from my door. I used to try to talk to them about Satan, and then they would try to run from me, and I would chase them down the streets. Like, you came to my door, don't run from me. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's how lost I was. And I was like, man, the last thing I ever thought of was Jesus. And I'm thinking that I hear almost audibly, it wasn't audibly, but it was so loud in my heart. I heard God say to my heart, until you acknowledge me as your, sorry. I just heard God tell my heart, until you acknowledge me as your Lord and Savior, nothing will ever work for your life. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It was Jesus this whole time. And I was like so on fire. I was like, I wanted to know. Now I want to know this God I said was never there. And this little preacher guy is coming into the church and or coming into the pod, and he's doing one-on-one visits with me and teaching me how to pray and telling me, when you read your Bible, then you before you even read it, just pray and ask God to give you his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, his rhema word. You'll get rhema word. He'll speak right to your heart. And I'm like, okay, all right, I don't even know what that means. But now, mind you, I never went to school. I was doing drugs my whole life and being bounced around from house to house. I never even went to school. I couldn't even read that good. I could read a paragraph and I couldn't stand to read, because I'd read a paragraph and forget before I even got to the next paragraph what I even read. And I used to get so frustrated. And now here I got a Bible, and get this. So I had prayed and asked God to give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. This before I even had a Bible. So I didn't even have a Bible yet. And I want to know this God I said was never there. And that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking, I want to know this God now that I said was never there. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. That just makes sense, because millions of people for thousands of years have believed in this Jesus guy. And I'm talking lawyers and doctors and kings and community leaders. And how could they have been so wrong? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm wrong. So I want to know. So this little Mexican Christian dude that invited me to church in the first place, he had no idea this conversation I'm having with God. And he walks in my cell the next day and he hands me a Bible. He goes, hey, you want to know this God you said was never there? You need to hear from him yourself. And he hands me a Bible. And I'm like, what the heck? This dude didn't even know how did he even know? So, and I don't know God, right? I don't know how God works. I don't know. I'm actually truly in my heart, I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at a life sentence, so I'm probably going to die in here. But I don't know. I don't even know God. I don't even know what to even think. So I start to try to read the Bible, and I can't, because I never went to school, and I get so frustrated. And I'm doing push-ups and I'm trying to read the Bible, and I get so frustrated, and I throw the Bible across the room, and I'm like, I remember yelling out to God and go, God, how am I supposed to know you if I can't even read? And I remember hearing God tell my heart, pick it back up. I'm going to teach you who I am and how to read it at the same time. And so I pick it back up and I read it, and I pick it up and I read it, and I throw it across the room, and I'm praying, crying out to God, and I pick it up and I read it again, and I'm just go through just doing this day after day. And then finally I'm starting to learn how to read. And now I'm reading, and now I'm reading more. And now I'm starting to understand what I'm reading. I started in the New King James Bible, and I started in the book of John, like the preacher told me to. So I started in the book of John, and I remember asking him, I said, turn to the page where we are today. And he laughed, and he goes, it's not like that. It's not like a calendar, dude. You can't just turn to a page and that's where you are. He goes, just read it and you'll understand. So So anyway, so I'm reading it, and I started in the book of John, and then I read all the book of John, and then he tells me, start in the book of John, read it all the way to Revelation. He goes, then start at Genesis and read it back through Revelation again. He goes, because you need to know the Old Testament. He goes, even though we live in the New Testament, but you need to know the Old Covenant in order to understand everything, because the New Testament, even Jesus quotes a lot of this stuff, so you'll understand more. So I'm like, okay. So now, mind you, I'm in the New King James Version. I'm just learning how to read. I'm just learning who God is. So I'm reading it. And I get into Leviticus, and I'm like, Deuteronomy, and I'm just like, okay. So I skip over Leviticus. So and I keep reading. And now I'm starting to learn how to read. And meanwhile, I hear God is just, man, I just have this connection with God. I start fasting because the preacher told me if you fast, you'll have a better connection. So I try that. I do a full food fast, and I'm praying, and I just feel this connection with the Lord. And now I'm like reading fast. I can read like I'm reading, right? And I'm just having a blast. I'm reading, doing push-ups, and now I start doing the prayer circles, and I'm doing the Bible studies in the pod. Meanwhile, I'm going to court this whole time, and they're trying to give me 35 to 100 years in prison, and I don't even care at this point. I'm like trying to even ignore all that. I'm like, I don't even care about all that. I found God. You know what I mean? My homeboys thought I all lost my mind. I'm in my cell. They're coming in trying to talk to me. And I'm like, I hold my Bible and go, you see him reading, bro? And they'll be like, whoa, dude lost his mind. And they'll turn around and walk out. It's because normally I'm running the pod and they come to me for advice and whatever. Anyway, so I'm reading the Bible over and over again. And then this little Christian guy comes in my cell again a couple weeks later, and he goes, hey, he goes, check it out. He goes, cut out your cuss words and see what you got left to say to anybody. I'm like, what? He goes, dude, like every other word out of your mouth's the F-bomb. He goes, just seriously, he goes, can you even function without cussing? I go, I don't know. So I cut out my cuss words, and it worked out perfect. I didn't talk to anyone for 5 months after that. I had to learn a whole new vocabulary. So I realized that every other word out of my mouth was the F-bomb. And what was funny about that to me was I was every other word I would say 10 words in a sentence, 8 of them were the F-bomb, but the people I'm talking to knew exactly what I was saying. I'm like, I don't know who was worse, me or you. So anyway, so I spent 5 months in my cell, 5 months straight in my cell. I ate in my cell, everything, and read the Bible over and over and over. I ended up reading the whole Bible all the way through. Well, this was another thing. So I read the whole Bible in the New King James Version, and I prayed one day, and I was like, God, there was a lot of things I didn't understand. This dude has no idea. I think that this guy, like God's using this guy for something, because this guy had no idea that I had this prayer with God. He comes into my cell one day and hands me a Good News Bible, English Contemporary Bible, and he hands it to me and he goes, here. He goes, if there's things in that Bible that you don't understand, he goes, here's an English version. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm just like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, coincidence. All this stuff is just coincidence. I'm thinking, right? But things are starting to happen to where you just can't call everything coincidence anymore. I'm starting to trip out now. So anyway, so I read that Bible all the way through, and then now I want to know everything about God. I end up reading the 15 extra books, the Apocryphas that are in there, because I end up getting a Good News Bible, Catholic Bible they call it, with the 15 extra books in it. I read all those. They say that those books were not divinely inspired because they were written during the 400 years when there was no prophets on the earth. I read those books, and Solomon actually wrote wisdom. So anyways, it was just good information. But now I want to know everything. And I just want to know. I want to know, like, so I start reading I want to know the Quran. I start reading the Quran. I want to know the Book of Mormon. I start reading the Book of Mormon. Because now I had read the Bible all the way through twice in 2 different versions, and the New Testament like 10 times in 6 different versions. So now the whole time God is just changing my heart from a heart of stone to this heart of flesh. I love everybody. I'm just like so on fire for God. And one day I'm in my cell, and I remember praying, and I'm crying every day because all of these things are coming back at me that I had done through my life. All the people I had hurt, all the stuff that I had done, all the times I disrespected the Lord, all the times that I can see God's got my back, even when I didn't even know him. And I'm just crying every day. And I remember one day I'm forgiving people as I go through my day. And, oh, Lord, please forgive me for that. Please forgive me for that. And forgive me for that. And I said one day, Lord, I forgive my parents. For real, in my heart. Sorry, hitting some touchy spots on here that. So until that day, I never realized that all this hate and this rage that I took out on the world was because of my parents. this hate and rage I had for my parents. And the day that I gave them to the Lord and forgave them in my heart for real, it was like 1,000,000,000 pounds lifted off of me. It was like this freedom that I never knew in my life. So now I'm doing the prayer circles and the Bible studies, and I'm just so on fire for God. I'm living in a cell with a white guy, and I tell God one day I'm on my knees, and now I'm doing. Oh wait, before I go to this next, so I'm reading the Book of Mormon. I'm reading all these different things. I'm putting in tank orders for these different preachers and pastors and leaders of churches and everything to come and talk to me, because I just want to know. I want to know everybody's take on everything, right? And mind you, I'm a brand new baby in Christ. I don't even. I mean, and so people understand a brand new baby in Christ doesn't know nothing. Well, see, God had taught me a lot of things, because I had asked. This is what happened. So I would go into the church with the same preacher every week, and every week he had the same message. It was a salvation message. And I'm like, okay, I'm praying to God one day, and I'm going, okay, God, I got that. I got that. I'm saved. I gave my life to Jesus June 28, 2007 in the county jail, 5:30 in the afternoon. So, but now I'm saved. And so I'm like, okay, I got all that. I mean, what's next? And that's when God told me, I need you to read my word and hear from me. So that's how I started knowing who God was, and everything is just amazing. The information that's in the Bible, I recommend everybody read it for real, pray and ask God, because the information in it is just so amazing. And the Lord will speak right to your heart. So anyway, I'm doing a prayer circles, Bible studies. The rule in the jail was, from the white leaders, that any white boy that sells up with a black guy gets beat up or stabbed or jumped or whatever. I used to be one of the guys that enforced that rule. So they used to call me the Regulator. And that was just my life. I mean, that's just the prison and the jail life, is you just do not mix races with each other. You don't hang out with the other races. You don't eat after them. You don't, none of that stuff. And they're very serious. You get killed over that stuff. So one day I'm on my knees and I'm telling God, now I read the Bible all the way through. I know who you are, God. This was my prayer to God. I'm like, God, I know who you are. I see you now. I'll do whatever you want me to do. But God, I want to know if the God of the Bible is real. I don't want to just stand in faith with you, Lord. I want to know if you're real. I want to know, God. And you're going to have to talk to me out loud, God, because most of the time I ain't listening. So please talk to me out loud. Just like hit me on the head with a brick or whatever you got to do, God. But I want to know, God. I don't want to just stand in faith. I want to really actually know if you're real. If the God of this Bible, the God that I just read that's in this Bible, if it's real, I'll do whatever you want me to do, God. And I heard God tell my heart, I want you to go in that cell with that black guy and live with him. That's your brother. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm having a conversation with God at this point, and I'm truly having a talk with God. I'm in the cell with a white guy. I'm doing the prayer circles, Bible studies. The likelihood of me going into a cell with a black guy is probably slim to none. I'm not getting in trouble. It's not like they're going to move me or anything. So I'm praying one day, and I'm talking to God, and I'm trying to be funny with God. How many know you can't be funny with God? And I'm like, I'm telling God, yeah, God, I hear you, what you're telling me. Yeah, he is my brother, and I love him now, and I love everybody. I love the officers. I just love everybody, God. And if that opportunity ever comes up, yes, that's what I'll do. And God will get you where he wants to get you, whether you like it or not. So about a week goes by, and after I prayed that prayer, and I get up to the front of the line, and I'm talking to the cop. We complained about the food, because the food in the county jail, Maricopa County especially, was terrible. And we complained about the food. And the officer that's in the pod, we're doing the prayer circles, and he's loving that. The officers are loving it. We call it the God pod. We got, we're just, everybody's doing ministry and whatever. So the officer says, well, Kovach, check it out. Why don't you write a grievance to the food factory, and we'll make sure it gets to him. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. That's unheard of. That's not going to happen, right? I'm like, dude, come on. I go, really? He goes, no, serious, Kovach. He goes, write out a grievance to the food factory. I'll make sure it gets to him. I'm like, okay. He goes, just don't start no trouble. Just write the grievance. So I write a grievance. He says he sends it to the food factory. A week later, I get a letter from the food factory from a sergeant. I'm like, what? Show my homeboys, look, I got a letter, dude. It's got my name on it. It says, Dear Tracy Kovach, from a sergeant at the food factory. It says, if the portions of the food are small, and it says in big letters, before you take your tray, because in the county jail, there's a window with a slot. They push the food out of, and the cops are in this little room where you can't get to them. And they push the food out this little slot. And it says, before you take your tray, get with the officer at the window, show him this letter. We'll come in and weigh the food and make sure, blah, 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 this letter, right? I mean, I have a letter. About another week goes by. I get up to the front line. There's an officer in there I'd never seen before. He's a real jerk. He's being a jerk to everybody. I get up to the front of the line. I'm getting ready to grab my tray, and there's like a half a hot dog and like one sliced potato on the tray. And I'm like, I stopped. And he goes, take the tray. I'm like, put some food on that tray, dude. He goes, take the tray. I go, hang on a second. I got a letter. I tell my celly, I go, hey, celly, get that letter. My celly goes, mind you, there's a whole line of people behind me. And so my celly goes up and gets the letter, brings it down. I hold it on the window and show it to the cop, and he pretends like he reads it. And he goes, oh, okay, yeah, let me see that. And I hand it to him. He goes, everybody lock it down. I was like, oh, man, that was not in the letter. I did not see that in the letter. So anyways, they come in, they locked the whole pod down, and they came in and snatched me up and said I incited a riot, and they cuffed me. And now, mind you, this is God getting me out of my comfort zone. I'm all comfortable in a cell with a white guy, and God's reminding me of the conversation that him and I had. God's like, you're going into a cell with a black guy. I hear God speaking to my heart. You're going into a cell with a black guy now. What are you going to do? You remember the conversation we had? And I'm like, oh, Lord, nah, I'm not. I mean, that's just, I'm not, la, 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 la. I'm not hearing God, really. It's just like my mind, you know what I mean? So they cuffed me from behind, which usually cuff you in front. I didn't start any trouble, you know. So, but because of my reputation preceded me of who I used to be, they cuffed me from behind. They got 3 big officers with me. The rule in the jail was, like I said, no, we're not supposed to cell up. But not only we're not supposed to cell up with other races, we're supposed to fight the cops at any cost. We're not supposed to go into that cell. So they think that's what's going to happen. They got their hands on their pepper spray and their tasers. They think we're gonna fight. So we're on the way to the hole. I'm cuffed. I'm just praying, going, oh Lord. I get to the hole and I look in the window, and sure enough, it's a black guy. And these guys are laughing because they think we're getting ready to fight. And I'm just like going, I'm just looking up going, I'm like, okay, Lord, well, here we go. I'm going in the cell. And they think we're going to fight. The cop uncuffs one hand and tells me to put it here, tells me to put my other hand up here, and they push me in the cell. And they've got their hands on their pepper spray, think I'm going to turn around and fight them. And I walked in the cell and I hugged that black dude and I told him I love you, man. He goes, why you love me, dude? I go, because Jesus says I got to love everybody, brother, and I'm starting with you. Man, he just looked at the cops, just looked at each other, and they were just like, they just kind of scratched their heads, closed the door, and walked away. Now, I truly and honestly believe to this day that gentleman was an angel. The Bible says to be careful when you entertain strangers because they might be angels, just paraphrasing. But I truly believe that he was an older gentleman, just the most peaceful, loving dude. Like I started now, mind you, I can read out loud. I'm like a regular reader. We're having like story time. I read him we read all of Jonah. I read out loud, like story night. I read half of the book of Revelation, half of Daniel. And we're just reading it and we're just having a good old time. And one day I take my shirt off and I'm working out and I got white power and swastikas and SS bolts all in my stomach and my chest. And, I take my shirt off, I'm working out and he looks at me and he goes, oh dude, he goes, I seen you on TV. I'm like, what? I'm like, America's Most Wanted? He's like, no, dude, I seen you on court TV. Well, remember I told you I slept for 3 weeks when I first got arrested? Well, during that 3 weeks, I was out of it. I didn't remember until he said it, but court TV had come in and filmed a show called Inside America's Toughest Jails. And they had zoomed in on my white power. I guess I wouldn't sign their little release, so they blurred my face out, but they had zoomed in on all my gang tattoos. It was like one of those gangland shows. And when he said that, I remembered. I was like, oh. He goes, dude, he goes, wait a minute. He goes, I know what the rule is from your people. Like, you're not supposed to be in the cell with me. Why are you in the cell with me? And I told him my testimony. I told him what God was doing in my life. And I told him the stand I'm making for the Lord. And he goes, okay. He goes, so now that you've been in the cell with the black guy, like God told you, you can just go about your business, right? And I was like, nope. He goes, why not? Because God told my heart now that I need to go into a cell with a black guy in front of all my homeboys. He goes, oh, because I'm in the hole. Nobody can see me. That's easy, right? So we're locked down 23 hours a day. So he goes, oh, wow. He goes, okay, well, I don't know, how's that going to go? I go, I'm probably going to die, dude. Because, yeah. So anyways, he ends up leaving like one night. He was supposed to be in there 10 days. He was only in there for a couple. So that's why I really believe this dude I really, truly believe he was an angel because it was just, anyways. So the disciplinary cop comes into the cell and he pulls me out and he goes, so listen, he goes, I looked at the footage. This is a few days later. He goes, I looked at the footage and I see you didn't incite a riot, but I'm not going against my officers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 10 days in the hole and I'm going to backdate it and release you back out of the hole. And I'm like, okay. So that's what they did. So they let me back out. And now I know, so I hear God say, you're going, And God's telling me the whole time, like I prayed and said, oh, God, I want to know if the Bible's real. And God's like, okay, we're going on a journey. First place we're going is in that cell right there. And this is what we're going to do. So anyway, so 2:00 in the morning, they come in and move me and put me right in the cell with the black guy. Now, mind you, in jail, everybody knows whose cells are open. If there's a white cell open or a black cell or Mexican cell, everybody knows. You know what I mean? And we're maximum security. There's one cell open. It's a black cell. So all these little white faces looking out the doors. 2:00 in the morning, I come in there with my bedroll. There's only one cell open. It's a black cell. The cop moves me in there. Now, I know all of these dudes are listening to hear a fight because they know who I am. They knew my reputation preceded me. So they're waiting to hear a fight. And I walk in that cell and just hug that dude and told him, I love you, man. And then we prayed together. We did some Bible studies together. I'm on my knees praying. And now I'm on my knees praying and I'm crying because I know when this door opens, these dudes are coming in to get me because that's just protocol. So I just celled up with a black guy. That's just like, now I'm going to get jumped and beat up and whatever. My prayer to God was this. I wasn't moving out of that cell, but my prayer to God was, Lord, I just don't want to feel the pain. I'm not moving out of the cell. Please, I just don't want to feel it, Lord. So when these guys come in, I just don't want to, because I'm thinking, God, Jesus was hung on a cross. He never fought anybody. I mean, I know I can hold my own. I've been doing it my whole life. So, but God told my heart, I was like, God, I'm just trusting and believing in you that you are who you say you are in the Bible. So you're either real or you're not. I hope you're real, God, because if you're not, I'm in big trouble. And I just didn't want to feel the pain when these guys came in to get me. So I'm on my knees and I got tears running down my face and the door opens. And I stood up and this big old white dude walks up to the door and I'm thinking, this is it. This is where we're going to get it. And the dude looks at me and I never met the guy before, but he knew of me. He's the biggest guy in the pod. And he walks in, he's not even a Christian. He walks in and he looks at me and he looks at my cellie and he goes, I heard you gave your life to Jesus. I go, I did. I go, and I'm sticking with Jesus. He goes, all right. He goes, well, I got your back, bro. And he stood at the door facing out like this. And I was like, come on, Lord. What are we doing now? I'm like, now I'm on fire. I'm like, I just watched God. Remember I told God, you got to do things out loud on purpose because I got to hear you, Lord. And God just put the biggest dude in the pod, not even a Christian, to come have my back. And I'm like, that was only God. So now I'm on fire. Now I'm hugging blacks. I'm hugging cops. I'm praying with cops. I'm just out of control now. I'm just like, all right, Lord, what are we doing now? So I'm just out of it. Everybody's like tripping. All these dudes that didn't know who I was from my past life, they're like asking all the other dudes, hey, what's this dude doing? Are we not going to get this dude or what? And they're like, nah, man, just leave that dude alone. So anyways, that was just God that did that. So now what I wasn't expecting though was the officers start tripping now. They think I'm on some kind of mission because none of the white boys will sell up with blacks. I'm the only one. And now they're tripping because they know who I used to be. And they don't know what's been going on in my life with Jesus. They just think they think I'm on some kind of mission or something. Like they don't even know what I'm doing. They're tripping. I wasn't expecting that. So now all my homeboys are tripping, but now all the cops start tripping. So now they start moving me all over the jail and taking me out of different pods and putting me in other pods, trying to get me beat up or stabbed or jumped and wondering why nobody's doing nothing to me. And every time God's telling me you're going into a cell with another black, and I'm just like, I don't even care because I know now that everybody cell that I go into, God's got a message for that person right there. No matter who it is, what they're doing, what color they did, none of that even matters. What matters is God is using me to bring a message to somebody that I'm going to be selling up with. I knew that already. So this cop comes in and he moves me again for like the fourth time, big old black officer. And he's watching the whole time. He's just like tripping out. He doesn't understand what's going on. He goes, Kovach, why are you selling up with blacks and nobody else will? I go, dude, I'm following Jesus. If it kills me, I'm going to follow Jesus. He goes, I don't understand it. I guess I'm just going to have to live with it. I go, I guess you are. So now when they move me, this is like the fourth time they moved me to this pod with a bunch of little young white boys in it. They're trying to make a name for themselves. And I'm like, So they moved me in there, put me right in a cell with a black guy. I'm right under the stairs in cell 18 in maximum security. All these little white dudes, like 10 of them, come running up to the cell. Oh, we got a new white guy, man. All right, we got a new... And they looked at me and they looked at my cellie and they just turned around and shut up and turned around and walked away. And I was like, oh man. And my cellie's like, I go, dude, they're all off in the corner grouped up talking. And I know they're talking about me because they keep looking over at me. I'm thinking all these dudes are coming in to get me now. And I'm back on my knees and I'm going, Lord, okay, again, Lord, I just want to pray before these guys come in here. I just don't want to feel this. Okay, God, I'm not fighting these dudes. I could smash every one of them dudes. I knew these dudes are nothing. I could smash these dudes. But God's like, nope. Be still and know that I'm God. I'm like, I don't know what that means, God. I don't know what that... So I'm on my knees and I'm crying. And my cellie goes, look, if these dudes come in, I got your back, bro. Meanwhile, his people are telling him he needs to leave the cell, otherwise he's getting beat up. I go, listen, dude, we ain't got to do nothing. God's got this. I go, don't even have my back. Don't even get involved. If these dudes come in, don't worry about it. It's God's will. Just let it happen. So I'm on my knees. I tell God, I just don't want to feel it. I hear the Holy Spirit tell me to stand up and look out the door. And I stand up and I look out the door, and all these dudes are grouped up, and I can hear them talking. And they're like trying to tell each other, or pushing each other towards my cell, trying to get somebody to volunteer to come tell me I'm in the wrong cell. And then one guy, I see him push the other guy and tell him, hey, go tell the dude. And the dude goes, you go tell that dude. I ain't telling that dude. I ain't telling that big old dude nothing. I don't know what that dude's doing. I told my son, I go, come here. I go, look at him. He goes, what are they doing? I go, they're trying to figure out who's going to come tell me I'm in the wrong cell. Nobody ever came and told me. You know why? Because God, right in front of my face, while it's happening, showed me, when your ways please me, I will put fear and confusion in man's heart. Right there. He brought a Bible scripture to life right in front of my face. Look at my hair stand up. Because I was like, oh my gosh. I go, dude, I asked him to just, you got to talk loud to me, God. And he was just doing that stuff just daily in my life. And I was just like, so nobody ever told me I was in the wrong cell. As a matter of fact, the rule in the jail became, if Tracy Kovach is with Jesus, leave that dude with Jesus. We're all better off. Because I used to just beat people up and take their stuff just because I could. So that was nothing that I did. God made sure he let me know that has nothing to do with you or who you used to be. That has everything to do with who I am and what I can do. And I was like, I knew that, God. I knew that, because there's no reason in the world why these dudes didn't come get me except for you, God. So I'm just glorifying God. So there's all kinds of chaos. This went on for 14 months. So I'm fighting my case this whole 14 months in there, and they moved me like 5 different times. Now, God was dealing with 2 things in my life that could have stopped me from following him: racism and being called names. Punk is the worst. Someone calls you a punk in the county jail or in that world, it's like an automatic bell. Bing! It's on. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what color you are. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. If somebody calls you a punk, especially out loud in front of people, you have to fight that person. Otherwise, everyone's going to treat you like a punk and beat you up and take your stuff anyways. They'll jump you, everything. So God was dealing with those 2 things: racism and being called names. Nobody ever called me a punk in life, ever. Never even got the P out of their mouth before I beat them up. So one day, like the 3rd time they moved me, there's this little guy that's in maximum security, 98 pounds soaking wet, never done time anywhere, never been to prison. The only reason he's in maximum security, he had like 123 fraudulent schemes charges from all kinds of fraudulent schemes. That's why he was in maximum security. He's got like 6 bags of commissary, 6 bags of story in his cell. And I walk in one day, I'm in a cell with a black guy, living with a black guy. I walk in his cell one day, and he's got a whole bag of honey buns. And I go, hey, bro, can I get one of them honey buns? He goes, no, you're a punk living in a cell with a black punk. Get out of my cell. I was like, he said it out loud. It echoed through the whole place. Everybody looks. And I'm looking. The first thing I did was I looked up in the sky, and I'm like, oh, God, turn your back for 1 second. I need to beat this dude up. And I'm like, all these thoughts went through my head like that quick. I beat dude up like 6 different times in my head. I killed him 3 times. I let him live 3 times so he could keep buying me story every week. It was all kinds of thoughts went through my head like that quick. Right? I'm just like, all this stuff's going through my head. And I hear God say, I'm like, God, I got to beat this dude up. That's just what I got to do. And I heard God tell my heart, if you want to stay the same person you always been, beat him up. If you want to follow me, go get on your knees. And I was like, I just shut up and I turned around and walked back to my cell, just so humiliated. Everyone's just like looking at me like, what the heck? And this dude just like, I went back to my cell and I was just crying tears, just humiliated. And this dude starts running around the pod going, that's right, I punked that big old dude, ain't nothing. And I'm like, dude, I got off my knees like 4 different times to go beat this dude up. And I kept hearing God tell me, get back on your knees. Get back on your knees. You want to follow me? Follow me. Get back on your knees. And I would get back on my knees and I'm just praying and crying. Even my homeboys were coming in the cell going, dude, you need to go beat that dude up. And I'm like, dude, just get out of my cell, bro. I'm following Jesus. And they would leave my cell. Dude, it was so humiliating. After like 3 days just on my knees, just praying and crying tears from humiliation, I just start laughing. And I just start busting up. And I'm laughing and I could hear God. I'm just laughing and I could just hear God laughing with me, saying, you were going to beat this dude up because he called you a name. They hung me on a cross and I could have sent down a whole legion of angels to wipe them out and I didn't. And I love you for that. And God blessed me for that. Dude got mouthy with someone else and got beat up and sent on his way anyways, but I didn't do it, right? But God just blessed me for that. Meanwhile, God is just messing up their case so bad that I ended up getting 2 years instead of 35 to 100. And so I'm fasting, and I fasted one time for 6 days, no food, water, nothing. for 6 days. And someone goes, dude, you can't even live 3 days without water. I go, well, I went 6. I started hallucinating. I'm like, I go, I didn't know you can't live without water for 6 days. Anyways, I did, but that was just God protecting me. And I ended up getting 2 years. But now get this. So I never followed Jesus on the yard before, in a prison yard. Usually I take over the yard. So I'm one of the worst in there. I don't know what it even looks like to follow Jesus on a prison yard. So now I'm thinking, okay, wait, because the whole time I'm in there, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is where God is going to pay me back for all the things that I did in my life, and I'm just going to get beat to death and come see him, and I'm not going to do a life sentence. Okay, that's cool. That's how God works, right? Well, that's not how God works. I didn't know how God worked, right? But God's telling me and showing me that's not how I work. I love you, and because you're making a stand for me, I got you. So anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm writing postcards to Kenneth Copeland Prayer Ministry. Every day I'm writing postcards going, today's the day I'm going to die. I need you guys to pray for me. Because I thought truly every day I thought I was going to die. I thought these dudes were going to come in, no matter where I was at, I thought I was just done. Because I knew I used to be that guy. And nobody ever did nothing to me. So even when I got out, I called Kenneth Copeland Ministries in Texas and asked them if they had those postcards. They go, sir, we don't keep that stuff. I'm like, man, darn it. Because I was writing postcards every day telling them I was going to die and I just needed them to pray for me. So I think when I get to the prison, that's where I'm going to get killed. Because now everybody on the prison, all of the brothers and all of the brotherhood and all these people, all the whites, all of my friends, all the really serious killers, they went through the whole prison system. Tracy Kovach's been selling up with blacks in the county jail, something that is absolutely illegal to do in that world. Absolutely illegal. I nil and voided everything I ever stood for or believed in. It was just, I forfeited that the minute I walked into that cell with that black guy. So I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, as soon as I get to the prison, this is where I'm going to die. And again, God, I just don't want to feel the pain, please. So anyways, I get to the receiving center, and when I get to the receiving center, I'm just praising the Lord, and all kinds of things were happening that you just can't, they're not coincidence. It's just God. Like as an example, we're in the chow hall one day, and I'm in Alhambra, which is the receiving, and then they classify everybody for whatever your serious crimes and whatever level of status you're at, and they send you to these different level yards, like a level 1, 2, 3, 4, maximum security, whatever. So people are getting classified there. So everything is controlled movement, big time. You're in your cell all the time, and they bring you out for meals. So we go out for a meal. I'm in the chow hall eating, and then while I'm in the chow hall, the officer comes in and announces that there's a chapel service. Anyone that wants to go to chapel, if you go to the chapel service, you get a shower like once every 5 days or something like that. And said anybody that's going to chapel doesn't get a shower. It's been 5 days. It's shower time. You know what I mean? He says anybody that goes to chapel won't get a shower. My partner looks at me. We're sitting at the same table. He goes, I give the cop my ID. I go, yeah, I'm going. And my partner goes, are you going? Dude, today's our shower day. I'm like, dude, I'm going to church, dude. I'm telling you, I'm going to church. So he goes, all right, well, I'm going with you then. So we go to church. And so we get to church, and then we're in there for an hour, and we come back. And as soon as we come back, they already finished all the showers. They're done. And when we come back, they go, hey, listen, guys, I'm feeling kind of generous today. You guys want to get showers? Go ahead. And I'm like, yes. That's Jesus, right? So just all this little stuff was happening. So anyways, I'm praying to God, and my prayer to God was, because I'm usually just on high-level yards, right? I'm praying to God. I'd never followed Jesus on a prison yard. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know if I'm going to live or if they're going to beat me up or stab me or whatever when I get there. So I'm praying to God, and I'm asking God, I just want to go to a good yard with a good church and a lot of Christians. That's all. That was my prayer. I don't care what yard, where, just that. That was just all I'm asking. Your will be done. So they classify me and tell me I'm going to Douglas Prison, which is a level 3 yard. Okay, I've been on that yard before, but I was smashing people on that yard last time I was there. So, okay, I don't remember a church being there, but I wasn't paying attention to church. So I'm thinking, okay, well, God knows best. So we're headed there. There's like 14 of us on a bus. We're headed to Douglas. And on our way there, you stop over in Tucson. They put you in cages and transfer your bus. Then you get on another bus going there. So we're in these cages outside, and the officer walks up to the cage, and there's 14 of us in the holding cell. And he walks in and he goes, hey, change your plans, guys. A storm just wiped out Douglas and all the power is out. I'm like, oh, man. So we're going back to Alhambra? Because you're sitting there for 2 weeks in this lockdown situation, 2 to 3 weeks. I'm like, man, we're going back to back to Alhambra? He goes, nope. Everybody's getting rerouted to Fort Grant. Now, Fort Grant is a minimum of minimum yards. There is fences, but it's an old army barracks in Safford, right at the bottom of this 10,000-foot mountain. It rains all the time. The yard is so big. There's little houses on the yard. The cops drive cars around the yard because the yard is so big. You're totally free on the whole yard. A straight minimum that I should never be on, that I wouldn't be on, right? So when he says that, what happens is if you're with my history, you won't go. They'll ship you to that yard and then put you in the hole when you get there, waiting for a transport to a different yard. So the minute he says that, I'm like, oh man. He goes, what? I go, so I'm going to the hole? He goes, why? I go, because I'm me. He goes, no, everybody's going on the main line. I go, dude, you ain't got to lie to me. So, I mean, for real, am I going to the hole or what when I get there? He goes, no, everybody's going on the main line. I'm like, whatever. I don't believe him. So we get there on the bus. I'm waiting. I get my stuff out of the bus and I'm like waiting for like cops to tackle me and take me to the hole, and nobody does. And I'm just like walking away, like looking around, like nobody's chasing me. I'm like, this is cool. Dude, they had a chapel, a whole church with a steeple and a bell with pews. Dude, it was amazing. It was crazy. I'm just like so on fire. But check this out. The minute I get to that yard, we're in line. The line for the chow hall, it's dinner time. I haven't had real good food in a long time, right? We're finally on a prison yard where they have a lot better food. So we're in this line that goes all the way around the building, and we're in this line for like an hour waiting to get up to the front line. We're almost at the front of the line, and the bell starts ringing for the chapel. Bing, 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 bing. And I walk out of the line, and my partner's like, wait. Where are you going, bro? I go, I'm going to church. You heard the bell? He goes, no, dude, like we're right here. I go, I don't know if the church is going to be open when we're done eating, so I'm going to church, dude. He goes, dude, all right, I'm going with you. So we go to church. When we get done with church, it's amazing. We get done with church and we leave the chapel. And of course, they have already closed the chow hall and all that. And we get back to our run, they call them. It was a dorm. We get back to the dorm, and these dudes are all making burritos. And the minute we walk in, this dude hands me a burrito. He goes, hey, bro, want a burrito? We got some extras. And I'm like, dude, you can't even make this stuff up, right? So anyway, so I'm praying with everybody. I'm praying with cops. I'm praying with everybody on the yard. It didn't matter what color you were. Didn't matter. I'm just so on fire, praying with everybody. And so now the cops, I get a complaint from one of the officers that says he doesn't like me praying with people because he goes and complains to the captain. I don't know this at the time, but how I find this out was I get called. I'm there for like 3 months already, and I get called on the loudspeaker to go to the captain's office. And I'm like, I look at this dude I'm standing next to. I go, did you say Tracy Kovach on a loudspeaker? Go to the yard office? He goes, yeah, that's what it sounded like. So I go to the yard office. The captain's in there. He tells me to sit down. He goes, hey, check it out, Kovach. He goes, you know what? I didn't even know you were on my yard. He goes, usually I know everybody that's got status that's on my yard. He goes, you've been here 3 months. I had no idea you were even here. He goes, so why you're even in my office is I got a call from the gang task force in Scottsdale, said that you were the leader of a white power militia group and you should be locked down in Florence prison. I'm like, okay. And he goes, I had to think about it for a minute. Who is this guy, Tracy Kovach? And he goes, I looked you up. And he goes, wait a minute. That's that guy that's running around praying with my officers and praying with everybody on the yard and telling everyone, God bless you. So he goes, you know what I told him? He goes, I told him, you know what? If they got a problem with you, they can deal with you on the street. But as far as I'm concerned, you're a level 2 inmate and you're staying on my yard. And I was like, praise God. So, but then that officer complained about me again, about me praying with everyone, and they moved me to Kingman prison. So I get to Kingman prison. First thing happens when I get there, all the white guys that are there, I get on the yard. They all knew who I was. I get there and they're all like, oh, Tracy Kovach's here. You're going to take over the yard? And when you take over the yard, you extort people, you sell drugs, all this stuff, right? So I get there and they ask me, you going to take over the yard? I'm like, no, where's the church? And they're like, the guy's like, why? Who are we going to beat up over there? I'm like, I'm going to praise the Lord, dude. And he's like, who's Lord? I go, I'm going to Jesus, dude. I gave my life to the Lord, dude. I'm following Jesus. Where's the church? He goes, listen, we heard you gave your life to Jesus. We thought you were just trying to get out of a prison sentence. And I'm like, listen, first of all, I got a problem with that statement. If you don't even believe in the God that I serve, what makes you think I'll get out of anything if I give my life to my Jesus? So somewhere in your heart, you believe something, because you wouldn't even, people wouldn't even, why would that even be a thought in people's head that I'm going to get out of anything if I give my life to Jesus if you don't even believe in Jesus, right? Just blows my mind. I go, who's running this yard? Dude goes, I am. I go, you're doing a great job. Keep it. I'm going to church. So I ended up becoming a pod pastor and a praise and worship leader in Kingman Prison. So I was there for, I was there for, I got 2 years instead of 35. I was there for like 11 months because they had moved me off of the other yard. So I was there for 11 months, became one of the leaders of the church in there, pod pastor, which was really, I was having so much fun because I'm hugging cops and blacks and everybody right in front of everybody, and everyone's just tripping. I'm not even supposed to go to the yard office or even go near an officer without somebody with me, because they got to make sure that you're not telling on somebody or something. You're not allowed to go near the officers without a witness with you to make sure you're not doing something shady. But nobody's even paying attention. No one's doing nothing to me. I'm there for a couple months, and I'm working out with black guys, everything, just Christians, right? They were just Christians. They were my brothers. The guy that's running the yard one day, he comes over and he looks at me, he goes, hey, he goes, you see that white dude over there? I go, yeah, what about him? He goes, he just came over to me and asked me, well, how come that white dude over there with white power on him is over there hugging that black dude and working out with him? I go, and? He goes, well, you know what I asked him? I go, what? He goes, I asked him if he had a TV. And the dude goes, yeah, I got a TV. Why? He goes, you want to keep it? He goes, yeah, why? He goes, because if you make that dude backslide, he's going to beat you up and take your TV. I guarantee it. So I suggest you leave him alone. I was like, okay, I won't, but okay, I won't beat him up and take his stuff, but that's okay. I'll go with that. So there was just a whole thing, and just God protecting me so I can keep doing what he had me doing. Then I had guys come up to me going, hey bro, hey, come here. Dudes with straight up gangster killers coming up to me like all quiet, like, hey bro, whatever happened to you is real, bro. And I want that. I go, it's Jesus. They're like, come on, dude. I'm like, what, dude? You asked me a question. I'm telling you, it was Jesus. I have no, all I know is I said yes to Jesus. My life has never been the same since. He's just like, dude, just all right, keep it down. I seen that particular guy after I got out. He ended up giving his life to Jesus. I seen him at a golf tournament when I was a student in Teen Challenge. So I went through this whole thing. And then the girl that I used to live with, it was her house they drove the armored car into. So we used to do everything together. We used to do women together and drugs together and everything for 10 years. Like, it was like this perfect relationship. I always thought, in my whole time of walking with the Lord, I thought that I gave my life to Jesus. Her and I were like this. So now I'm going to get to lead her to Jesus, and her and I are going to live happily forever after for you, God. Well, the problem was, the whole time I was in prison, I kept writing her letters and telling her what God was doing in my life. And she kept sending me stuff that she's finding on the internet, why God's not real and the ark couldn't have holded all the animals. I'm like, what? She came and visited me one time in the county jail. First time in my life I've ever had a visit in the county jail. She came and visited me. All I did was talk about Jesus. When I called her the next day, she goes, I am never coming to visit you again. She goes, I thought you said you were God. I said, listen, you listened to me the whole time we've ever been together. And I lied to you most of the time. I go, I'm telling you the truth now. Jesus is real. She goes, listen, I don't want that. What are they brainwashing you with? I go, listen, I'm trying to she would never listen. And then God told my heart one day, that's not the woman I have for you. She doesn't want anything to do with me. And I have better for you. Don't worry about that. So just before I get out, and every time I ever got arrested and got out, she would always pick me up with a 12-pack of beer, a pack of cigarettes, a syringe full of, and a girl. Every time. That was our MO. That's how she picked me up every single time I got released from jail. That was just how we lived. So just before I get out of Kingman Prison, she writes me a letter and says that she wants to come pick me up one more time. So I got approved to go to Teen Challenge. I wasn't going to go back to my neighborhood. So I knew if I hang out in a barbershop long enough, I'm going to get a haircut. So, right? So, I mean, because I did it my whole life. I get out and tell people I'm not going to do drugs. I'm just going to drink a beer, and then I'll drink 2, and then I'll drink 6, and now I'm drunk, and now I need some meth. Now I get to do some meth to get undrunk, and now I'm spun. Now I'm too spun. I've been up for 3 days, and I got to do some heroin to come off the meth, and now I'm sleeping, and then I wake up the next day, and I blew it my whole life because now I had to see my PO yesterday, and I never did because I've been on drugs. It's this vicious cycle. Right? Always. And I didn't want to get caught up in that again. I just didn't want to do it. And I was going to do whatever it took not to go back to my neighborhood. And so I had got approved to go to Teen Challenge right from prison. So there were some people coming from Calvary Baptist Church in Lake Havasu City. Amazing man and woman of God. I call her my grandma and grandpa. He went to go be with the Lord now. She's still kicking, little 85-year-old, this tall. Anyway, so I got that letter. I went and showed the chaplain in the prison just before I got out. And mind you, I'm a pillar of the community. We had 200 people in our chapel service every week. We had a full band, a full praise and worship team. We were just praising the Lord big time. It was great. Loved it. So I get that letter. I go show it to the chaplain, and he reads it. And he goes, oh no. this girl ain't getting her hands on you. And he called Calvary Baptist Church in Lake Havasu City and asked them if they would come and pick me up when I got out and take me to Teen Challenge here in Phoenix. And so nobody would go with her. The lady wanted to do it, and nobody would go with her. She would go into church and ask everybody, even the officers that were retired officers, and nobody wanted to come with her. She goes, I'll go pick that guy up. So she always, that's part of her testimony. She always laughs about it today because he's like, yeah, I went and picked up this big old bad convict and picked him up from prison and took him to Teen Challenge. He's just a little puppy. She's so cute. But anyway, so she comes and picks me up. So I get out. She comes and picks me up and takes me to Teen Challenge. So the whole time I'm in Teen Challenge, I'm there. I ended up being there for 18 months, became a choir director and a staff member at Teen Challenge. So 6 months into my Teen Challenge thing, I'm up at the Christian Life Ranch in New River for Teen Challenge. And it's the second phase of the Teen Challenge program. And I'm up there and these detectives show up, those gang task force. They show up and they're trying to ask me questions and they get a call. And see, in the plea agreement I made them stipulate in the plea agreement they wouldn't bring up any new charges on me because they were still going to hit me with all these new charges. But I made them put the case numbers on there. And there's a whole story that goes with the whole court thing that I could talk for like 7 days, but we don't want to do all that. Anyway, so they show up and they're trying to question me. Well, they get a call from their captain or whatever, told them to get out of there because they didn't know I had signed this plea agreement, but apparently somebody checked because they were trying to get me caught up and still try to get me because they were so mad I didn't get a life sentence after driving an armored car into my house. And I was just like, I'm trying to tell them about Jesus. I'm like, you guys just don't understand. Jesus is real. Look what he did to me. And they're just like, whatever, Kovach. Anyway, so then I go to a Teen Challenge banquet. I'm so on fire for God in there. And it was a trip because when I got there, this is what I'm thinking. So our praise and worship team, and in prison, just so sold out to Jesus. You have no distractions. And in prison, if you're a Bible thumper, they call you, they'll leave you alone. Everybody will just leave you alone. It's like, look, but if you're trying to go to church and then you're doing drugs with people, someone's going to pull you up because they're going to think, what are you doing in that church? Telling on us because we're over here doing drugs, you know what I mean? So, but if you're Bible thumping, which I was, everyone just leaves you alone. So I'm doing that the whole time. I'm just so on fire for God. I'm thinking when I get to Teen Challenge, I heard about Teen Challenge. I'm going to get there. It's going to be on even a higher level of just a spirituality. And I get there and it was just such a disappointment for me because I was so on fire for God already for 2 years. And when I got to Teen Challenge, I didn't realize that everybody that's in Teen Challenge is just coming off of drugs, coming off the street. Most of the cases, not even Christians. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting this whole nother level of this Teen Challenge thing is going to be just like, so I was kind of like deflated a little bit, but still on fire for the Lord. I'm screaming Jesus and just on my knees, just praying and crying and just sold out, just praying to Jesus. Well, the pastor had pulled me up one day and he pulls me up and he goes, hey, and Teen Challenge is a 13 to 15 month in-house program. It's a discipleship program. So I'm in the program and one day the pastor walks up to me and he goes, hey, he goes, just a real quick thing. Can you tone it down a little bit? And my flesh tried to rise up and I kind of got defensive for a second. Like, you can't tone the spirit down. What are you talking about, bro? You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking, but I didn't say it. But I'm just thinking, why tone it down? What, dude? Like, I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And then I hear the Holy Spirit tell me that your on fireness is actually affecting other guys that are trying to follow the Lord. You know what I mean? It was affecting, it was being more harmful than it was good for these brand new guys coming in, not even Christians trying to see what this God thing, right? So anyway, so I toned it down. Like 2 weeks goes by and I'm just kind of like, I backed up a little bit. I'm just, still praising the Lord, but not all like crazy. And then the pastor walks up to me again, sits next to me. He goes, you all right? I go, yeah, why? He goes, well, because you're like, you were like that and now you're like this. I go, oh no, I heard everything you said. I go, and the Holy Spirit talked to me. He goes, that's an evangelist heart, bro. That's an evangelist heart. I was like, okay, whatever that means. I don't know. So anyway, so it's a pretty cool little thing. So anyway, so I go through Teen Challenge, and while I was in prison still, I had wrote a letter to a prison ministry called Overcomers for Christ. So it's a newsletter that goes into the prisons, created by some ex-cons and ex-felons that, and they tell testimonies and stuff in there. Well, I had written my testimony about what God had done in my life, and I had put it in that newsletter. So I actually wrote a letter called A Letter to Jenny G. So there was a girl that God put on my heart to write her a letter and tell her and I used to do all kinds of crime and time and stuff together. So God had put it on my heart one day when I was in the last prison and said, write her this letter and tell her what I've done in your life. I don't know why God told me that. I was like, I heard she was in prison. I can't get a letter to a female prison. You can't. I mean, I'm like, I don't even know what that looks like, right? I'm just like being obedient to God. I knew. So I fasted and I prayed and I wrote this letter. It was about 6 pages long. And I wrote a letter. And this guy comes into my cell and into my run and he goes, hey, he goes, you ever heard of Overcomers for Christ? I'm like, I haven't. He goes, well, they do testimonies. He goes, why don't you write that letter and send it to this guy that runs it, and then see if they'll publish it in the newsletter, and maybe that newsletter will get to her on her prison yard. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And he goes, yeah, but it's 6 pages long, so you're gonna have to cut it down a little bit because it's just a new, it's a 1-pager. So I'm like, okay. So I fast and I pray and I go right in. It turned out 22 pages after that. I was like, well, that didn't work. He goes, look, just send it to him like that. So I sent it to him. He actually edits it and puts it in the newsletter. Well, check this out. In this letter, I wrote this letter to this girl. I wrote in the letter, I don't even know if you're a Christian or not, or if you even know who God is, but I was told to send this letter to Overcomers for Christ. And the Holy Spirit told me that there'll be a girl on your yard that will get this letter, that knows you, that knows Jesus, and you'll know. It happened exactly like that. I sent that letter out. They published it. About a month later, I get a letter back, right? I get a letter back about a month later, and it's a letter from Jenny G. In her letter, she said, if anybody else in this world would have told me about Jesus, she goes, I was on the yard playing Frisbee, and a girl came onto the yard, and she handed me this letter and said, Jenny, you know Tracy Kovach? Is that you he's talking about? And she said she had been hearing in her heart something. She thought she was hearing voices. She had heard God talking to her heart, trying to get her to come to him. And if anybody else in this whole world would have tried to talk to her about Jesus besides me, she would have never even listened. And she said, because of that letter, because it came from me, that she gave her life to Jesus that day on that yard. You cannot make this stuff up. So yeah, just amazing stuff. So anyway, so I get out. And he comes, the guy that does the newsletter, he starts coming to visit me at Teen Challenge. So, and you don't leave the Teen Challenge property. You're there for 12 to 15 months. So he comes and, you go to different churches as a group. And you sing in the choir, which I loved singing in the choir, the whole Teen Challenge choir. One time I was jumping on a stage, just so on fire, and I broke the bleachers, so they made me stand on the floor after that. But yeah, just loving it. So anyway, so one day he shows up with some girl, right? And he introduced me to her, and I'm like, I'm not paying attention. I'm just telling God, it's me and you, God forever. I mean, I don't want anything. I don't want anyone. It's just me and you, God forever. He shows up with this girl. I guess she gave him a ride, and he introduces her to me. And I go about doing whatever. Then he's visiting me. She's giving him a ride because I guess he couldn't drive at the time. He wrecked a motorcycle or something. They're coming and visiting me some more. She gives me her phone number. And she tells me one day, she goes, my mom and dad started Teen Challenge of Arizona in 1965. And I'm like, I don't believe her. I heard of Snow and Liddell Peabody. That's who runs it now. They've been running it for 45 years, whatever it is, 50 years. And I was like, I never even heard of Reverend Bob Stewart, is who she said, and was her dad. And I was like, okay, whatever. Just go about my business and not even paying attention to that. And I end up at Christian Life Ranch, and Pastor Rick is up there. He's the director and pastor up there. And I go up to him and I go, hey, dude, I met this girl at the banquet that said her dad started a Teen Challenge. Didn't Liddell and Snow start it? He goes, no, they didn't. He goes, what's her name? I go, her name's Debbie. He goes, what was her dad's name? I go, Reverend Bob or Robert Stewart. He goes, yeah, that's who started Teen Challenge. And I'm like, where's that phone number at, dude? So anyways, we ended up getting married. So check this out. I wasn't looking for a woman. I'm arguing with God about this because I hear God say, that's a woman I have for you. And I'm like, la, 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 la. No, it's me and you, God. Me and you, just me and you. God's like, nope, it's me, you, and her. And I'm like, no, God, hers are trouble. I want it to be just me and you, okay? Hers are trouble, just me and you, right? God's like, no, you need a helper, and that's her. And I'm like, I'm trying to block him out. So I try to be funny with God, like I was, again. So I'm going to throw a fleece out for God. So I'm an intern at Teen Challenge in Tucson at the time. And I hear God tell me that she's the woman I have for you. And I'm trying to be funny with God. I'm like, okay, God, if this is the woman you have for me, I don't have a ring. I'm an intern. I don't have any money. I have nothing, God. So just trying to be funny with God. I'm like, oh, what are you going to do with that, God? I don't even have a ring or nothing. So if this is really you that I'm hearing instead of myself, then I'll need a ring. Well, check this out. So a couple of days later, that girl and him come and pick me up, and we go to a friend of mine's house in Mesa to minister to him. He just got out of jail. We went to minister to him at his house with another friend of ours that called me and said, hey, we need to go and tell him about Jesus at his mom's house. So we go to his mom's house and we have a barbecue. And, that night we have a barbecue that night. We do Bible study and all that. And we leave. So the next day, that dude calls me that we went to minister to. He calls me and goes, dude, he goes, that chick that you brought over with you to my house? I go, yeah, what about her? He goes, yeah, my mom said if you ever want to marry that girl, she'll donate a blue diamond ring to you. And I was like, oh, dude. I was like, he goes, what? I go, dude, let me tell you the prayer, dude, that I just had yesterday. And so I we never dated. I proposed to her immediately. And we've been married now for 15 years. Just crazy. You just can't even make this stuff up. So now I'm 18 years clean and sober, 16 years out. Now I'm a husband, a father, a grandfather, grandfather times two. I own 2 homes. So I'm actually a fully licensed pastor. I go back into the same jail I got saved in and do my services in there. And I also do my services at Alhambra Prison for the prison system. Fully badged to go in every prison in Arizona without an escort, every county jail in Maricopa County and Pinell County. And all the glory be to God. You can't even make this stuff up. So then, there's so much more to the story. But then as life's going, I'm trying to build a life. I never had a life, never worked in my life except for that one time when I was driving a tow truck. So now I'm married. Now I have to be the man of the house and I have to get a job. So I start working at a car wash. I was at this car wash for 4 years, the Metro car wash, riding my bicycle to work because I didn't have a license and I was not going to drive until I got a license finally. I owed $13,500 to get my license back, but I just wasn't going to drive until God gave me my license back. So I'm riding my bike back and forth to work, going to the car washes, which is right next door to the gym. And that's funny because I was at the gym and met some guy and I go, I need a job, man. He goes, I work at this car wash right here. Let's go talk to my boss. And I walk in there and talk to his boss, Lebanese guy, real thick Lebanese accent. And he looks at me and he goes, you ever sell anything? I go, does stolen cars and drugs count? He goes, perfect. You're hired, dude. I was like, okay, perfect. So I ended up becoming the sales manager there. I was there for 4 years. So I was, and I remember looking up at the sky and just going, really, God? A car wash? I know you're bigger than that, God. I don't even know. I don't even know what I can do as an ex-felon. People won't hire me. I can't even get an apartment because of my background. So I'm just like, so I had left Teen Challenge. Oh, that's another thing. So I had left Teen Challenge as an intern and went and moved in with my then fiance. She lived in a townhouse. I stayed downstairs. We had made an agreement. I was moving from Tucson to come move in downstairs. She lived upstairs in her room. We never even kissed each other. We had promised God at separate times that we weren't going to do anything with somebody until we were married. So we both had already had that square. So in my mind, the perfect plan was I was going to leave Teen Challenge in Tucson, come out here. I was going to go to Teen Challenge here in Phoenix and go get a job there. And the minute I went to Teen Challenge here in Phoenix, I go there and ask them if I get a job. And they go, nope, you're living with a woman without being married to her. You can't. You're no good to us. I'm like, what? I was mad. I called my wife's dad and I call him. I'm all upset. And I tell him, hey, dude, this is what they told me. And he goes, well, let me tell you something. He goes, even the appearance of sin is sin. He goes, you plan on being a minister and a pastor someday? He goes, you can't be living with a woman without being married to her. He goes, what does that look like? How are you going to ever tell somebody not to do that if you're doing it? And I was like, okay, bye, I got to go. Click, hung up, called my wife. Hey, we got to go to the Justice of Peace right now. She's like, wait, what? And I told her what just happened. So she left. We went right to the Justice of Peace, got married. I went back to Teen Challenge to get a job. They just laughed. They're like, no. So they ended up hiring me eventually as a fundraiser. So I'm at the car wash and I'm telling God, my wife keeps telling me to get into behavioral health. Get your peer support training. I'm like, I don't know what that is. What is that? She's like, it's a certificate you get with the state to work with people like you, seriously mentally ill and substance abuse. And I'm like, what? You just called me mentally ill? All right, whatever. So finally I listened to her and just everything that happened, God just opened this door because I always knew I don't walk through a door until God opens it. But when God opens the door, I just have to walk right in it. I don't have to kick the door. I don't even have to touch the handle. God just opens it. So after 4 years, I went and took my peer support training, got hired immediately where my wife was working in behavioral health, was there for a year and a half, got noticed by another behavioral health company. They hired me on an ACT team, which is working with a higher level of care. He gave me a car, a phone, and a laptop. So I'm like, okay, we bought a house. Then I was doing that, and then New Freedom came about. So New Freedom's the company I work for now. So we work with inmates coming directly from prison to us. So it's a reentry program. So I'm working for Community Bridges, CBI, on an ACT team, getting ready to be a clinical coordinator. I got a whole career. I've been there for 4 years already, right? I've separated myself from all the people I used to hang out with because that's not my life. That's, you know what I mean? There's people to minister. I don't even go back to this. I don't come back to East Mesa, Apache Junction. Look, there's people that preach to those guys. It ain't me. It's like people are like, why don't you go back to your hood and preach to those people? I'm like, listen, Jesus couldn't even preach in his hometown. I don't know what makes me think I'm going to. I'm not. So unless God calls me to do that, I'm not doing it. So, and he hasn't called me to do that. So I don't even come back this way. So anyways, I'm doing CBI. I'm getting ready to have a career and all that. I'm a clinical coordinator. I get a call from one of my old homeboys. He used to be a leader of the skinheads. And he's working with this ministry. And it was a nonprofit. They were picking people up from prison and passing a hat around at the house to get them an ID, and then going to St. Mary's and buying food. And just that's what they're doing. That was their ministry. I'm like, okay, no, that's great. He keeps calling me going, hey, you need to come join us. And I'm doing prison ministry, jail ministry, street ministry. I'm the president of a Christian motorcycle club called the Deacons at the time. And I'm just like, dude, I'm so busy. I love what you guys are doing. That's perfect. I got a lot going on. And they call me again. And they call me again. I'm like, dude, no, listen, I'm good, bro. I'm getting ready. I got a career, just bought a new house. Then his boss calls me one day and goes, hey, we just bought the 4-Point Sheraton Hotel on the I-17 in Peoria. And I'm like, what part of the hotel? And he's like, no, the whole hotel, bro. And I'm like, the only thing I had to compare it with, I couldn't think of the building, but I'm thinking of one of these little motel dives, that's a flop house. I'm like, if I get some time off or something, I will. But just so happens, nothing just so happens. But that next Monday, I'm off. So I call him and tell him, yeah, I'll come check it out. So I go there, and here's this 198,000 square foot, used to be a 4-Point Sheraton hotel, a pool on the inside, 4 floors on the inside, dome on the inside with 4 floors, a waterfall in the pool, an outdoor pool, a fully operational restaurant, a bar. I'm like, I walked in and I'm like, it's empty. The hotel has got the doors locked. There's a hotel staff that's got the doors locked. And there's like 3 or 4 people down there in this little room by the pool, the indoor pool, working. And those guys. And I walk in and I just look around and I'm like, what the heck is this? So what's the vision? There's 248 rooms here. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's the vision? And they tell me the vision. So they say the vision is to pick guys up from prison, get them here for programming, get them their ID, social security card, birth certificate, driver's license, jobs, housing, careers, just get them everything that they need, right? So I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but what do you want from me? They go, well, we know you know everybody in town, so we need a workforce development director. I'm like, okay, what is that exactly? What does a workforce development director do, right? I don't know. So he looked at me and he goes, what did you need when you got out of prison? I go, well, I needed ID, social security card, birth certificate, driver's license. I needed a job, I need housing, I needed a career, I need all this stuff. He goes, great, bring it here. I go, bring it here? He goes, yeah, bring it here. Go introduce yourself to employers, see if they'll hire our guys when they graduate. So that's what I started doing. I just started going out. But before we even opened the doors, so I'm still with Community Bridges, I tell him, this was a couple of weeks before I put my 2-week notice in. And I tell him, I'm going to put my 2-week notice in right now, because check it out. I walked in that building and I felt the Holy Spirit go, this is where you're going, right here. And I'm like, okay. I go home and I tell my wife, hey, I'm quitting my career and going to this building that's not even a thing yet. And it's not even a program yet. And they don't even have any funders. But I'm going to quit my career and go work for this. And she's like, what? Are you, what? Did you pray about that? I go, no, I'm telling you, I told her the whole story. And she's like, no, listen, you better pray about that again, because I don't think I'm like, no, I'm telling you. So anyway, so I put my 2-week notice in. Like 3 weeks goes by. He calls me and goes, the boss calls me and goes, go ahead and put your 2-week notice in. I put my 2-week notice in. That next day, I'm riding my motorcycle on the freeway doing 70. I just went and did some medication observation for my company for CBI. Like my boss, it was during COVID. My boss called me and said, get your motorcycle, go do some medication with some of these clients downtown Phoenix, and then go back to Avondale, pick up a CBI car, and then have, work, do your day. So the only thing I remember the whole day is I went into the garage, I picked up my helmet, and I thought, do I need this helmet? I'm only going down the street. And something told me, which I know now was the Holy Spirit, yes, you need that helmet, put it on. So I put my helmet on. It's the last thing I remember from the whole day. Apparently, I had went and did the medications downtown. I don't remember. But as time has gone on, I've started to remember. I remember now coming back from Phoenix on the freeway on the I-17. I was doing about 70. And I remember looking over at what was called the 4-Point Sheraton at the time on the I-17 in Peoria. I remember looking over and seeing the building, and boom, I hit something on the freeway. I hit debris, and it just took me out. I broke 9 ribs, both my shoulder blades, almost lost my thumb. My whole rib cage is titanium on this side. So I was 2 weeks in the hospital. I came out of the hospital, and from the hospital went directly to New Freedom, all bandaged up and limping. And my boss like, why are you here? I'm like, don't I work here? He goes, someone give him a laptop and get him out of here. Go home. So yeah, so we're now operating for 5 years. We have a 93% success for our graduates. So you can go on to newfreedomaz.com and look at our website. That's newfreedomaz.com. And then our nonprofit site is nfproject.org. We have to fundraise a huge amount of money. We have 355 men in our men's facility right now. We just opened our ladies facility. We work with 225 employers that are hiring all these men and women when they leave. We have licensed therapists on site. We have vocational programs on site. We get them their ID, social security card, birth certificates, driver's license, all that stuff. Very successful program. So anybody wants to donate to it, just go to nfproject.org, hit donate, and go right on there. It's a great program. And all I can say is just look up the program. There's 270 staff there, and 90% of those 270 staff are us. If anybody out there wants to actually come and tour the facility, you just get a hold of me. My number is 520-310-4211, 520-310-4211. You can email me at tracy@nfproject.org, or just go on our websites, newfreedomaz.com and nfproject.org. Life is good and all the glory be to God. Anybody that's out there that's been listening to this and you have that life, or you had that life especially, I just know there's more to life than all this. Here's something to think about. So if you go to jail and you've done drugs and you have a story like mine, and you think you're going to go back to your neighborhood and tell all your homeboys and show them how good you look after you got out of jail, don't do it. It's a trick. All right. So I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to go show everyone how good I look, and I'll just get caught right back up again. And unless God calls you to go back to your neighborhood, don't do it. If you really want to do something different with your life. So here's another thing I tell people all the time. So people like us, we have PhDs in life. The things that we know and the things that we've seen and the things that we've done, you can't learn in a book. Most of the world has never seen or done it. Half of the things I've ever done in my life, they can't even show that stuff on TV. So we got PhDs in life. When you can get to a place in your life where you can take all of that knowledge that you had from that life and stay clean and sober and learn the new life, that's what I had to do. I had to learn a whole new way of living, a new way of talking, a new way of living, a new crowd to hang out with. And don't think about the things that you can't do anymore. That's the biggest problem that happens with people, is they think, well, if I give my life to Jesus, I can't do this and I can't do that. I can't. Listen, think about the things you can do with Jesus, because the possibilities are endless. There's only 2 levels you can get to doing drugs, time, and crime. Prison the rest of your life, or death, and sometimes both. The possibilities are endless in your new life with Christ. I talk to governors and senators. I'm all over the place. I do podcasts and go to schools and talk. I go to churches and talk. And I've been in a Christian movie with Dean Cain called John Light. I played an extra on the prison yard. Imagine that, of all things. So I've been in Christian rap music videos, and just have fun being a Christian nowadays. It's fun to be a Christian. But I'm still me. I'm still the Tracy I always been. I just do different things now. So now I follow Jesus. I've been working for the wrong master my whole life. Now I work for the right master. And there's blessings that come with following the Lord that you don't get following the world. And I can't even explain them. I live good. I'm blessed and highly favored. And God blesses me, and all the glory be to God. God blesses me so that I can bless others. That's why I take the time out all the time when people ask me, hey, can you tell your story? And I've told my story 1,000 times in 1,000 different places. But every time I tell my story, it's to a different group of people. And God is always telling me, like, there's been times I tell God, like, God, I just want to go to this church and do a sermon. And one time, I'll just tell you this. One time I went to this church, asked me to come and speak at this church, Fire and Water International Church. Pastor Gus, I love him. Inner city church. A lot of people, standing room only most of the time. And he asked me to come in there and speak. And I thought, okay, I'm going to put together this message. I spent 2 weeks putting this message together. Boy, I had scriptures written out. I had this whole message written out, 5 pages. 2 weeks, I practiced it. I was ready. I get up on the stage and I heard God say, I never told you to put a scripture together. You're going to tell your story to this crowd. I was like, so listen, all I know is every time when I'm at Alhambra prison, and it just makes sense, because when you go into other prisons and you have an actual service you have to put together a sermon. Well, it's interesting because at Alhambra prison, every week I have a different group of guys, because every week they're sending guys out back onto all the yards and new guys come in. So every week I get to tell my story to a different group of guys, but just in a different way. And the Holy Spirit always guides me of how to say it, where to say it, and where to start and where to end and all that. So it's just pretty cool. And this pastor tells me from Prison Fellowship, Nathan Hale, he's the regional director, who I'm under for Prison Fellowship. But he goes, you know what? He goes, it just makes sense with you. He goes, because God didn't call you to be a preacher. God gave you a testimony to glorify him with the testimony that he gave you. The stand that you made for the Lord in the county jail, and the stand that you've made that God had you make for him that you made. He goes, that's what God wants you to talk about. I'm like, all right, come on, let's do it. So that's why I talk about it and do what I do. Let me pray with you guys. So I just want to pray with whoever's out there, because I know the struggle is real. Look, I am not God. I am not Jesus. And I'm no different than you. I'm no different than you. I just decided to follow Jesus, and God is blessing me for that. And I know the blessings are for you too. So I just want to pray that God touches your heart. I want to pray that you step out in a faith, because I believe to this day, if I would have never walked in that cell with that black guy the first time, I could have just as easily looked in that cell and looked up at God and said, you know what, God, let me get back to you later when it's more convenient for me. That might hurt. I'll see you later. See, if I would have done that, I don't know if I'd ever be where I am today. I stepped out in a faith that I thought that could have possibly killed me, but I wanted to know if God was real. I was willing to sacrifice my life to see if God was real, and God blessed me for that. And God showed up and showed off day and day and day and day and day again. And here I am today, 18 years later, clean and sober. I never thought I'd be clean and sober for 18 years. Never thought I'd be out for 16 years. Never thought I'd have a life that I had. Always thought my life was so messed up it could never be fixed. I was wrong. Jesus can fix anything. So let's pray. So Lord, in Jesus' mighty name, we come to you right now, Father, and we just praise you. We give you glory for everything, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for all your blessing. Thank you for everybody that's listening to this message right now, Lord. I ask, Lord, that you just touch their hearts, Lord, and anything that you speak into their hearts, Lord, just give them your strength and your power to walk this thing out. Lord, I pray, Lord, that you just give them your Holy Spirit in their hearts right now, Lord. Your Spirit will give them the strength to step out in a faith in something that only you can fix, something that only you can create, something that only you can protect, Lord, only you. And I pray, Lord, that you show up and show off in their lives, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you bless them and touch their hearts like you have mine. I pray, Lord, that anyone that's out there that's struggling, Lord, that has family members that are locked up or in addiction, Lord, that we just break those chains right now in the name of Jesus. We stand against them right now, Lord. Lord, I just pray, Lord, right now, Lord, for your Spirit to saturate these hearts, Lord. Bless them, Lord. We just thank you and praise you in Jesus' mighty name, Lord. I pray also, Lord, right now, for anyone that's out there that's never said yes to you, Lord. Lord, I pray right now. Let's pray together. Just pray. And sometimes anyone that's out there listening that wants to give your life to this Jesus that you said was never there and hear it from him yourself. If your heart is so hard, do like I did. God directed me to put my hand on my heart so that I could feel it, because it was so hard I couldn't even feel it. So put your hand on your heart so you can actually feel your heart for once in your life, and pray this prayer. Just say, Lord Jesus. Just say it out loud. Lord Jesus, forgive me, Lord, for my sins, Lord. I surrender my life to you, Lord. I surrender everything to you. Lord, I believe that you are my Lord and Savior. I surrender my life to you as my Lord and Savior, Lord. I believe that you died on the cross and that you were raised again. Lord, I pray that you come into my life. Be my Lord. Be my Savior, Lord. Change my life. I surrender to you, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Amen.